Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special episode. This is episode 52 of the Tall and Short of It podcast. We have
1 year anniversary.
Yep. And not exact date, but we have done 1 full year of episodes. It's really exciting, and we've got a good one for you all today as well. So we've got a lot of good talk about the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, all the goings on, excitement, disappointment, craziness. We've got some good talk about LEC and a preview of the teams that are going to be going to Worlds, a little bit of the in and outs of those teams, and then we'll have some additional Magic the Gathering talk to conclude us at the end of the podcast today. Justin, congratulations, 52 episodes. How was your week?
Dude, yeah, congratulations to you too, man. My week has been pretty good. I have to be honest, I've been very much looking forward to doing this episode, maybe more than any of the other ones. I think it represents like a commitment to something totally new, something we're learning as we go every time. It's a commitment to each other, which is interesting. So I think there's a lot to say about this episode, and that has informed a lot of my week. So to answer your question, my week has been pretty good. I've been very much looking forward to this. So I think we can start with something along still in the podcast line here. So my seed for this week is a interview, the first interview that I've ever done for anything is going to be for the Push and Pull episode number 3. I'm going to be interviewing a client, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And then my rose for the week. Now, I'm not sure if we talked about it, but my my to-do list that I work on. Now, I told you I had fumbled a couple times and missed my milestones.
Yeah, that knocked you off your yeah, gotcha. Your track.
Exactly. So I'm currently I've surpassed my previous record, and I'm within and maintaining, I think I'm on like an 85 or like a 90-day streak. So I'm just hoping to continue that all the way to episode 104, so I can say a full year of hitting all my marks. So that's kind of like a rose, half of a seed. And then I'll give you my thorn real quick, because it's not much of a thorn, it's just kind of funny. So I felt the itches of cracking packs and cardboard crack, so I was able to sell myself on the idea of cracking into one of the boxes that I had in my thing. And me and Sarah played a draft, and we cracked, and we had a great time, and we laughed, and we played some Magic. But at the end of the day, I was just left feeling like, you should have just left that sealed, man. You have no self-control. You have no self-control, you motherfucker. I sold myself a bunch of lies to just say, like, yeah, you got it. You go right ahead. So that's my thorn in my side. While it made for a fun... It's really tough, because it makes for a fun day, but it was like a financial investment, quote unquote, that like I reneged on myself. It means, I don't know what it means. It's a fine line.
I gotcha.
So that's been my week. Really looking forward to this episode. I can't wait to get into the Italian Grand Prix. But give me your rose, thorn, and seed, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, honestly. It's been weird week with work. I don't know. I'm at a new property.
Always work with you, brother.
Well, no, it's not my rose, thorn, or seed, but it was just a weird week. All the stuff.
Hell yeah. Okay.
All the stuff that that I've been dealing with at the new property that I'm at has just been like weird. Like the people are weird. The way they're reacting to things is weird. Like it's just been strange. But
okay.
So my week's been a little like good, but just like something feels off, and it's not with me. It's like with everyone around.
Okay.
But my rose that I'm really looking forward to, excited about. I've got my final, most likely tattoo appointment on Friday. So getting the rest of the color in on that and everything. I'm excited, looking forward to that and all. So that's gonna be awesome. I'm like just kind of pumped for it. It should be really cool to see everything all complete there with the tattoo and all, and kind of have that wrapped up. The other part of my rose that I'm looking forward to this weekend, though, is I am getting to meet getting to meet Colleen's parents at like a family party thing that her cousin's doing for the Eagles game. So I'm looking forward to that. It should be a good time. I'm looking forward to meeting them getting to know me and all and everything, and kind of taking that next little step with all those things. So that's exciting.
Now, do you have like previous information about Colleen's parents? Like, do you know like a little bit about what to expect, which is informing the looking forward to it, or are you just excited to like hit that milestone?
Kind of more excited to hit the milestone. She's told me about her parents a little bit, so I've got a feel for them a little with what to expect and all. But no, I'm excited that is kind of where we're at with our relationship and all. I'm looking forward to when she gets to meet my parents and my family and everything. So kind of cool to take that next step forward with it all.
Yeah, that's sweet, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's my rose. My thorn for this week was this past weekend. My old roommate moved out into a new place with his girlfriend. My new roommate, who had been here for a couple weeks living in our living room, moved into his own room here. So we've officially done the swap of roommates and everything. But the thorn was the actual moving process, because I had plans with Colleen to get lunch with her friend. We were supposed to start like moving at 8 a.m. The U-Haul place like had told my old roommate's girlfriend, like, hey, you don't need the store to be open, 24-hour pickup, you can get this truck right at 8 a.m. get rolling. You just like do a little thing on your phone, key box pops open, you grab the key and you go, kind of thing. And we get there, and she calls them or does the thing, or she does the thing on her phone, and it's like, error, blah, 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 call this number. So she calls the number, and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Like, let's reach out or call this person. And she's on hold for a while, and then they're like, oh, I don't know why anyone would have told you that you could get this at 8 a.m. We don't open till 9. And she's like, that's the whole point of this, like, not needing to go to someone to get the key thing. What do you mean? So we ended up having to wait till 9, go through the whole moving process. We went and got her stuff from storage, brought it to her new place, her and my old roommate's new place, unloaded it, I was supposed to leave my apartment right around 12:15 or so. We go to get my new roommate's stuff out of storage, bring it back to the apartment, and when we got it back here, it was like just after 12, and I'm like, I gotta shower and go. So I felt like a dick because of U-Haul. Like, if we had that extra hour, I could have fully helped them unload everything into the apartment. There were other people there to help and all, but I felt like a dick for like bailing out in the middle of like the move and everything.
Right.
Like, I know I was kind of involved from start to finish. Like, I flew up to New Hampshire. I like drove stuff down. I put stuff in storage. I like moved all like, I did a lot, but I don't like bailing on people in the middle of things. So that just was kind of a bummer. And if we had that extra hour that U-Haul snatched away from us, then wouldn't have run into any of that. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That's a fucking headache, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's annoying. Like, it was just one of those things where you're just like, of all the things that you just want to go smoothly, it's like moving. Like, you just want to be able to go through it, no issues, just boom, 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 get it done, and it just can't work like that. So, and also U-Haul, when I went up to New Hampshire, they told my new roommate, they're like, hey, sorry, the truck that you're supposed to have, we don't have it at the location that you're supposed to get it at. You have to drive an hour away to pick it up. So, like, U-Haul's just, like, fucking up all over the place, and it's not great. So they're on my shit list right now, but that is my thorn.
If I can give you the words that I know Ian would tell you, he would just say you should have went with Penske.
I don't know if there's a Penske around. I'm sure there is, but
brutal. Monopolies are worse than a moving day like that.
Well, that's what I like when we went to pick up the U-Haul at this place, like giant facility, 24-hour giant cube, big storage building, like, here, all your U-Haul needs are right here. And then they're like, haha, fuck you, like, our systems don't actually work. Like,
that's so weird, man. I don't know. That's unfortunate, because I imagine there's a lot of people that would rely on a feature like that, and then for it to just like not, for it to come up turds, man. That's really shitty.
Yeah,
I'm sorry you had that.
Yeah, appreciate it, but yeah, super useful if it works. But yeah, the fact that it didn't, like, kind of screwed that day up a little bit. So
fucking robots, man.
Seriously, but that is my thorn. My seed for this week is I have done a little bit more job searching type stuff to get just a better idea. I'm starting to develop, like, an idea of what I think I would like to do a little bit more.
Like, based on what you're seeing in the job market?
Yeah, and I think my understanding of the different positions and everything, and so I'm kind of interested in, like, looking into, like, account management for a company that I would be kind of the go-to lead for, like, client interactions for certain accounts, whether it's sales or marketing or things like that. I feel like I have a decent grasp of, like, the concepts of, like, what I would need, and it would kind of allow me to still have that customer service type side of things where I'm assisting people, trying to make sure things go smoothly and all of that, without some of the more obscure craziness that you deal with when it comes to, like, people's homes and housing and all. And so, I mean, that's just, like, one thing that I've come across that seems kind of interesting that I would keep on potentially on my radar for looking at jobs and whatnot. But yeah, just, like, the fact that I've started doing a little more digging, like, I set up some LinkedIn job alerts. I set up, like, some other website job alerts and all. And I think that will hopefully help me with just kind of figuring that all out, what I want to do, whether I do want to stay doing what I'm doing, do something new, whatnot. So just,
dude,
yeah.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Like, I feel like I have I don't know. Each job that I've had, I feel like I have a slightly better idea of what I might want to do in the future, like, slightly, or at least, like, with my therapist talking about, like, what are the pros and cons of, like, my job? What are the things I really like? What are the things I really dislike? And, like, things I like, working with people, making people happy, making sure plans and things go through properly. One thing I definitely don't like is just the exterior uncontrollable factors that can really, like, screw with someone's, like, living situation, whether that be, like, it was driving me crazy that, like, it is driving me a little crazy that my job is so dependent on how the weather is, what storms we have, when we have vendors like roofers that don't know how to fix a hole in a roof and things like that are out of my control, but I am still having to deal with the fallout of things that are quite literally just out of my control.
Right.
And I know every job will have that to some extent, but I feel like something in that vein might be potentially less of that and be a little more in control of kind of game plans, timelines, keeping things on track with different projects.
Right. And then part of the in control is your selling point, is that the idea would be that you're the guy, you want to be the guy that they call for the unsellable house or like the unsellable client, right? Like you want to be the guy that says like, oh, I've dealt with that kind of person before. Like I know, like you don't want to have to deal with the uncontainables. You want to say, I've got everything contained.
And
okay.
And I think like to be able to like when I don't have these external factors and everything, I am really, or even with small ones here and there, I feel very comfortable with making adjustments, making sure things happen the way they're supposed to, like coordinating things and kind of guiding that process and all. And so I feel like with less of these things that are like crazy, like flooding and just non-stop rain for a month straight and things like that I really like just kind of ruin plans unexpectedly or without any way to resolve them. I think without a lot of those things, I might be able to feel just more comfortable with what I'm doing and feel like I am able to deliver what I intend to, whether that's good service, a good product, a good plan, a good process, like whatever that would be. So
Right. Damn, that's awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that you've kind of honed in on, what what your goals are, I think that's awesome. I know one of the ideas that I've heard and have tried to incorporate into the things that I talk about with people and clients is that like there is no problem in shifting the location of the goal. Just set a goal first, right? So and that isn't me telling you to do that. I would say that the first part of that process was you like just going to a therapist. Like you had the initial feeling of like you want to put yourself in a better position. What does that mean? Maybe I have to figure out some chaos in my head. Okay, so you go and talk to somebody about that chaos, and then that person that you've talked about this chaos with helps you sort it out a little bit, organize it, put it into place, right? So that goal of putting myself in a better position now, so it's like mutated a little bit, right? But it's still within the realm of like that same initial like starting foot forward. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So I think that's really cool that now that we've like, all right, cool. So we got an initial goal. Now we have our sea legs. Now we've got this going on. I've got this responsibility, and now you've got a couple of spinning plates, and you're like, all right, now the goal has shifted a little bit, right? And that's really interesting now that you are like the goal is becoming more high resolution is like the right way to think about that. I think that's fascinating, man. Like
Yeah.
kudos. That's a tough point to get to, man.
Thanks. And it's still like not a finished product. I still have a lot of research finding out like do I have the qualifications for some of these jobs? Do I have what I would need to be able to fulfill like what they're looking for in the next person for those positions and all, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So I'm excited to just kind of see how that goes and continue that process of figuring out what I would like to be when I grow up. So
That's an interesting concept, being as old as we've gotten.
I know I like to say it because I find some humor, but also it's a little bit realistic in that as well. It's like
Yeah, but it implies the levity of like you're always changing. You're never like you don't have to be the whole like. It's such a narrow way to think of like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a firefighter. Wait, what? Like, okay, so that's your career, like that. That's what you do from like 9 to 5 or 5 to 2, whatever the schedule is. But there's a certain point where I think what you get paid for should be you should try and put yourself in the best possible position to enjoy what you get paid for. But it's wild that we frame that question as like, oh, like what do you want your job to be when you're older? It's like, no, like who do you want to be, man? So I think that's interesting that the way you're framing it is you can always change that. You can always change that final piece, right? It's like
yeah.
a build your own little thing.
Yeah, I know pretty well I think who I am as a person. I've done a lot of introspective thinking about that and everything. And so yeah, that's not the final piece of the puzzle, but definitely one that yeah, I'm trying to find the puzzle piece that fits in that spot kind of thing.
Well, because even if you get to a point where you have like Oprah calling you to like plan her like vacations, like, oh, Aaron knows all the best spots. He has all the hookups in fucking India for shawarma and whatever the hell. So like, what would be crazy is like even if you hit that position, the infrastructure that that you've begun now to set up wouldn't even allow for the calcification. Like even if you were in that position, the systems you're setting up now inform like even if that's what you're doing during the day, I know you would be like there's other things that you would be shooting for as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's so I don't think I don't think there's ever a finality to it, man. I think it's all about the journey.
Yeah, and my job, and I know for some people that work is the be all end all kind of thing. They're like there are some people that are like I want to be the general manager for the nicest hotel in all of Miami or whatever the case may be, and there are people who are like that's their life. They're grinding, trying to get to that point, working hard. They're making all the right little chess moves with their work life and everything. But for me, it's like I want to find something that I enjoy or at least like am pretty content with, that I could see myself doing long term, that allows me to spend the time that I want to with the people that I want to, doing the things I want to. Work is a more of a means to an end, but I would like it to be an enjoyable means to an end. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm excited to kind of continue to figure it out, and maybe who knows, maybe I'll end up continuing to work in property management in some other type of role for another company. Maybe I'll end up doing some sort of account management. Maybe I will do something completely different that I'll come across an ad on one of those sites and be like, oh wow, that looks really cool, and I think I fit into that thing. And so you just don't know, and like the fact that I'm looking is just another little step forward, step in the right direction. So it's exciting.
Yeah, you just get more data points as to like what you could be interested in and what you also get to see what you're just like straight up not interested in, and that data is valuable too.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, man, I'm really happy to hear it. I hope the job hunt ends up being fruitful and
Yeah.
puts you where you want to be, man. That's awesome.
Definitely, and I'll give a just a last bit of advice from
Sure.
that my dad has given me throughout my life, and so if anyone takes it to heart, hopefully it'll be useful. But my dad always has told me that the best time to find a job is when you have a job, because you are able to really vet what your options are, look for the right thing. Still have that paycheck coming in and everything, and not be concerned about just jumping at what's the first thing that they offer because I need
Right.
money. I need to like feed myself and pay rent and bills and all. So that's his kind of go-to. Is best time to find a job is when you have one, and I have been able to kind of do that pretty well for my career so far.
Yeah, straight up just taking that advice to heart, man. I'm sure he would be. I'm sure he'd be proud to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So
Nice.
that brings us to the next excitement, though, of the episode. Something that I and you, I know, both really want to dig into. We got the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, the Temple of Speed.
And quite fast it was, man. It was a pretty fast race.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry to cut you off. Continue.
No, it was a really fast race. I wanted to kind of see what your thoughts were and just initial reactions to everything. Like, I mean, the podium is clearly a pretty big deal. So
Yeah, the podium I think is exciting. We had Daniel Ricciardo 1, Lando Norris 2, so that's a 1-2 for McLaren, and then we had Valtteri in P3 after some shenanigans with Sergio Perez. We can get into that later, but the main thing that I just want to say up front is I've only heard one person get the Max and Lewis incident right. I've only heard one person's take that sounds like the reasonable way to go about it. And believe me, I've done my digging over the last couple of days since the
I've watched
race.
a number of things.
Yeah, I was right on Twitter. I was looking to see what people said, and I've only heard like one like decent take on it. So
Hit me with it.
it was Damon Hill, and he said, look, you can call it a racing incident, you can say whatever you want, that, you know, racers should race and this and that, but at the end of the day, somebody has to do something, or racers are just going to start to bump people off, and if like nobody says anything and blah blah blah, it's going to start getting really dirty. And what really frustrates me is the analysis kept starting at turn 1. They kept focusing just on the chicane, when in reality that collision began when Max was in the fucking pit lane and all those F words started flying over the radio and he was yamming on the gas. There was no world in which frustrated Max Verstappen was going to give that corner. But there's a world where the day goes differently, but I would say, and any previous instances, I'm not sure factor much in, because Max pushed through that turn so hard, and it was strictly off a hot head. That was not a smart move. It was not a brave move. It was not a championship winning move. He was pissed at his pit lane, and he took both drivers out of the race in a way that like has hurt Lewis. The way his car went up over Lewis, his tire was on his head. Lewis is out going to see a specialist. That's not the kind of racing I want to see. I don't want to see fucking a bunch of F words and then you put it into your rival. Like, that's not a good look, brother.
Yeah. And I, for the most part, agree with that because it did start with that, and you could tell that Max was frustrated and everything, especially listening back to team radios and all of that stuff.
How many F words did you hear in the span of 5 seconds?
There were a lot, but
A lot.
I do. So I think that Max made a rash decision to do that. And everything, I think it was based off. I think he would have acted differently if, say, he had a clean pit stop and that's just where he was coming out, was like right next to Lewis. I think his head would have been in a better spot. I do, however, still believe that Lewis squeezed him. I think that Max put himself in a position there that Lewis...
Who gets squeezed.
That Lewis... Yeah, exactly. But I do think that Lewis did not give him the space that he should have. But that being said, I do agree with you that it starts with Max. Like, I do still think that it's a multifaceted problem. I think that Max, I wouldn't be surprised if he, like, was breaking, like, the telemetry from the cars. I would not be surprised if he came in hotter to that corner than other cars had been doing all day, coming in at a higher speed, braking
all weekend,
later.
I'm sure.
Like, I would not be surprised, and he definitely put himself there. Lewis definitely didn't give him enough space, and Lewis is very much, oh, well, I was ahead, bro. Like, your tires were practically right next to each other, man. Like, I don't know how I feel about that, because, like, I do agree, like, Lewis ended up in an extremely dangerous situation, but there are some sides of it that I think, well, Max definitely should have acted differently. He should have said, hey, let me give him this. I'll try and take a good line coming out of the chicane, try and get a slipstream, see if I can make a quick move and get past him and get fucking going. That should have been what happened. Lewis still squeezed him, and then I also was just a little frustrated with Lewis after the fact of everything in it. So one of the interviews, he was like, I can't believe, Max, that he would, like, after the crash, he wouldn't even check to make sure that I was good and everything, and, like, yada, 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 and, like...
That's tough.
And, like, hey, man,
Continue.
Like, you're right on the track. Like, you're not in a safe place. Like, one, Max kind of, he checked, he looked at him. So, I mean, he
was pimp walking, brother.
He didn't go, hey, Lewis, you go, like, check it. But, fuck, man, we saw fucking George Russell and Valtteri Bottas crash out, and you see George walk up to Valtteri and fucking throw shit at him. Like Lewis, like, you can't just be like, oh, like, well, they got a little heated here and there, and then be like, oh, whoa, like, fucking... George threw his earphones at Valtteri, nothing. And then, like, Max didn't, like, come over and go, you okay, buddy? Like, I get where Lewis is coming from, but, like...
It's like the sportsmanship angle.
Yeah, but, like, you're saying it in this instance, not in a... oh, like, everyone needs to be good sports kind of way and everything. You're saying it in a, oh, like, I'm going to make Max look bad for the way he acted kind of way. I don't agree with that. I think Max looked bad enough in his own right from, like we said, him coming out of the pit lane pissed off, making a hot-headed move, and crashing both of them out and then kind of storming off. Like, that doesn't look good already.
Right.
Like, I don't like the little titty tat fucking like let's make each other look bad kind of bullshit. Like,
especially because you don't get points for public opinion, right? Like you don't get driver points for like swaying the crowd.
Yeah.
Now,
and I didn't see when Lewis took Alex Albon out of his first podiums 2 different races.
Yeah, you won't see him pull over and go check on him
and hit Max out and have Max go flying into a wall at 160 miles an hour. You don't see Lewis going like, oh my God, like, no, it's like, oh, he got in my way, he cut in on me, he this, he that, like, it's, you're defending yourself, and so you can't have it both ways, and so that frustrates me.
I think moreover, you can't trust what the drivers are saying post accident. Like their opinion matters the least because they're playing for the organization, right? Mm-hmm. Like they have to like, oh well, like they are deflection city, man.
And they are just trying to get themselves whatever edge they can. Like that is not like I'm upset that Max wasn't concerned for my safety. That's like throwing little things to get in the stewards' heads. To be like, maybe Max did think like, oh, let me do this move. Worst case scenario, takes both of us out, and then I lose nothing. And like,
well, that was Damon's Hill angle. Is drivers can't be thinking like that. They can't be thinking like, oh, I'll just squeeze through here. Fuck 'em.
I don't think that Max was thinking about it in terms of
was.
Well, no, I don't think it was.
Yes, he was.
I don't think it was a tactical decision like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was like, oh, like I'm gonna try and take this out or whatever. I do think, he made a risky move that he shouldn't have made. Mm-hmm. And that is dangerous, and that's not good for the competitive integrity of the sport and everything. But I don't think that Max was like, well, let me slide in here because maybe I can make it, but if not, I'll just fucking crash us both out. I don't think that was his thought process.
No.
I think he was thinking, I need to get ahead of Lewis, and I'm going to make a risky move to do it, and, like, I'm going to try and squeeze through here and make it work. I don't think he had any thoughts about if it doesn't work when he was going into that chicane. He was thinking
that's
about,
what's so
I'm
crazy.
Gonna make this work.
Yeah, like, that's what's so crazy about, like, the hindsight of it all is people, like, they talk about there's just a slow motion that we believe is possible in those moments where we're like, oh, Max must have been thinking, oh, Lewis was, oh, is it in the back of, oh, could he been thinking? It's like, I don't.
Yeah, and it's also so easy for people who are watching it to interject those thoughts when every time you see that crash, it is in extreme slow motion. Frame, like it is so slow that those crash angles that they show take 15 to 20 seconds probably to get through it all. When you watch it back at live speed, it's like 1 second, boom, done. It's curb on top of the car and down. Like he is. But then you see the replay, and the tire is on Lewis's head for what seems like an eternity, and in reality,
Halo, bro, and that crunched the Red Bull. Like after the when you were just like getting to see the replay, that's what I leaned over and said to Sarah. I was like, look at that, bro. That is that is life-saving technology right there.
Because you look at it and you see all the other parts of both cars just getting fucked up.
But the halo was just rigid.
See the engine thing behind Lewis's head is all fucking crumpled in the front and like destroyed and everything. And like,
how much does one of those tires weigh, bro? It literally like rolled over his helmet.
So quick though that obviously there's an impact of like it pushing his helmet forward and everything, but also like don't get it twisted. Lewis was trying to reverse out of that shit and try and get back on the fucking racetrack too. So he clearly he knew right off the bat that he was good. Like, yeah, after the fact, like after the adrenaline, I'm sure he was sore. All these guys
brought that up.
All these guys, when they crash out in accidents, are like, "Oh, that's gonna hurt tomorrow," kind of thing.
Dude, Lewis was trying to get back on the track.
I saw it too, and I was watching. I'm like, dude, your engine behind your head is fucked up, and you're trying to reverse out of there. Like, he was still like in, and they're like, "Lewis, turn off the car. Lewis, turn off the car."
He was, and the engineer even said, "Please," as like he. You could feel it in the air where Lewis was like, I'm getting the fuck out of this.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
but, like the one point I want to go back to when I was first watching it, when it was happening live and Max was walking across the track, I had the thought in my head, and this is not hindsight, I'm just remembering like my live experience. I had the thought in my head that it looks like Max is walking away from a murder scene. So, like, say what you want, but that was, like, just my initial impression where I was like, bro, like, you don't... He made no motion to the Mercedes.
Oh, no. He walked past,
that was
glanced.
A straight fucking line, yeah.
He glanced to the side. But, no, I mean, I'm sure that after he got out of the car, he was pissed off about his pit lane and, like, bullshit. 11-second pit stop. Come on, Red Bull. Like, pissed off about that. He was pissed off about the fact that he felt he got squeezed out because you hear him immediately as it happened go, "That's what happens when you don't give me enough space," kind of thing. Like,
well, exactly. It's almost as though he was fucking hoping for that to happen.
He could have expected that Lewis might not. I don't think he wanted to crash out though, because I think he thought he had the better car.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just saying, man.
But
it's
no,
like
it was a stupid move and the wrong one, and it could have ended up way worse in terms of driver safety and everything than it did. Fortunately, it did not.
That's a very good point to make.
I just. Like, when it all happens and everything, he's so pissed off. He hops out of the car and everything and, like, just storms off and all. Like, we've seen plenty of other drivers crash out with other people and just storm off and be pissed off. We saw fucking Leclerc hit Checo and Max, and, like, Max is all pissed off and like, I mean, people get crashed out and they storm off. Like, that's not new. That's not necessarily poor sportsmanship. I think that in a lot of those cases, with how hot they are, adrenaline flowing and everything, it's probably better that they remove themselves from being around the other driver.
Yep, and that's what Max said, and I lean heavily in that direction. I think you're right. I do believe you're right.
I know how I am when I get hot under the collar. I say things that I don't mean. I do stuff that I wouldn't normally do.
So you just say, like, just remove yourself.
It's better for me personally to, like, not.
Probably better for them.
No, and, like, I'm not someone who's gonna go crazy or anything typically, but, like, I know myself well enough from experience that I need to remove myself from situations that really have me fired up so that I can take some deep breaths, get out of my own head, like, chill out. These guys are some of the top competitors. Like, you see people like Michael Jordan, if you watch the Last Dance documentary, Michael Jordan was such an extreme competitor that he would make up things that he would tell himself that his competition had said that they never said to get himself fired up. Like, that is
he's a maniac.
That's the kind of fiery, like, competitors that you have to be to get to that level
and to compete at that level.
Yeah, so, like, these guys are going to be fired up, and, like, they are, like, I don't know. I personally don't have much issue with the fact that Max like walked off without I mean, also like if he goes over to Lewis and like Lewis is like injured in some sort of fashion, what's Max gonna do that's gonna help out? Like the stewards are already rushing over, the officials, medical crews, whoever is already on their way. They're right there. Like, what is Max gonna do other than exacerbate the current situation? Maybe Lewis is going to be like, what the fuck, man? And, like, start going off. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't see an issue with him removing himself from the situation, but still, nonetheless, stupid move from someone who is pissed off, making a rash decision. Lewis, I think, did what he normally does and kind of plays in that gray area of, like, oh, well, he, like, I was a little bit ahead, and so I like was when like I don't know about that. Like,
to your point, Lewis races so clean and so on the line of perfection that he's not going to give you a frame of putting a tire in a wrong spot, right? So not only are you getting tangled up in these scenarios, but Lewis is such a racer, or he's a racer of a certain caliber where it's going to look as though that was the only way to do the thing, because he usually does the thing so precisely, right? So we have so much precedent of Lewis just like, oh, well, that's like the racing line. Oh, that's the speed. That's the,
And the racing line comes less and less into play the more and more cars are right there. Like, if at the start of the race, if there were 3 people wide going into that chicane early on in the race, someone's going off and going over like, there's barely enough space to fit 2 cars, let alone 3. And that's why you end up seeing people going off like Checo did and getting his 5-second penalty, cutting through and everything. Like, that is something that is just going to happen when it's already that tight. People are going to go off gonna end up getting pushed off. But like, that's where, oh, I had the racing line and I had the whatever, like, comes less and less into play. And it's much more like, hey, okay, you see a guy side by side with you. You can't just take the normal racing line as if you're in qualies, like on a hot lap. Like,
right, but that's the data that they use, which is fascinating to me. Like, that's their like the law that they're resting on. They'll say like, oh, but the line was mine, the turn was mine, the corner was mine. It's I just think the drivers are the people that you should listen to the least.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I would have to look back though as well at the video, but I am fairly certain that going into the first turn of that chicane that Max's nose was ahead, but Lewis had the shorter line because he was on the inside of that first turn.
That turn, right, which is then effectively the outside of turn 2.
Correct. So you see Max going around the outside of turn 1. Lewis should have taken the outside of turn 2. It shouldn't have happened. Bad incident. I hope that will be a lesson to both of them in how competitive this fight is and everything, that it's not worth it to make those stupid rash decisions. And I think in the post-race, little ways after the fact interviews that Christian Horner and Max had, they were both like, hey, it was a racing incident. The fact that they were like not blaming Lewis at that point, I think signified that they recognized that there was some fault to their own. Otherwise, they would have been hammering down on, he needed to give us space, he messed up, he made the wrong choice.
Right.
I think that is some without coming out and outwardly saying it, some recognition of, hey, we made a bad, or Max made a bad call doing that and put himself in a bad position where there was little chance that a collision was not going to happen. Whether Lewis turned in too soon, Max put himself in a spot that he didn't need to be in. Yeah. So, and I think they recognize that, and I'm hoping, truly, truly hoping that they learn and don't make those kinds of decisions, because it's dangerous. It's scary. Like, in the moment, I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew Max's car went over top of Lewis, but I didn't realize in the immediate moment that the tire hit Lewis in the head and everything. Like, that's all replay stuff that you see and everything. And so it could have been so much worse. Yeah, very much so. And I hate to. It's such this feeling of like impending doom when you fucking turn on the race on Sunday, man. Because like every other it's such a hurt feeling where every other driver seems to be able to navigate the track perfectly fine, but every time Max and Lewis are within even like a spitting distance, there's drama. Yeah, you know. And I mean, I would say this kind of does go back to Lewis hitting Max and crashing him out. I'm sure that has come into Max's thought process of like going into weekends and everything, that like, hey, I need to do everything that I can because I know Lewis is going to be pushing just as hard and doing just as
if
much,
not harder.
And I mean, the crash that Lewis caused, because he did get a grid penalty from that crash as well, that he crashed out Max, like that was extremely dangerous as well. And like, I don't know how many times I like it does. Impending doom is a great way to put it, because it makes me worry
for their safety, like a fucking parent.
Every time that a race goes and the first race that I watched with Colleen that I started and didn't even get to finish with her because we had an immediate crash on the first lap, taking Max out of the race and everything, and ended up with a like 2-hour like red flag on it, or just a long red flag, however long it was. Situation and everything. I'm like, I am starting to just like wait for those things to happen at the start of races, and there should not be this many collisions like that. There should be way more fucking, instead of these types of collisions, fucking Schumacher tapping Mazepin on the side and spinning himself out, and like Mazepin goes on, is like, oh well, do I have damage and everything, and like goes on his merry way, and Schumacher fucking spins it around and like gets back going. Like, there should be way more of that and a lot less of like these crazy crashes that are taking out cars, potentially injuring people, putting people in bad spots. I don't. The excitement of how tight the championship has gone away for me. I had been really excited, like, oh, it's a close fight. Who's gonna win? I'm pulling for Max. I hope he does. And now it's like, fucking, don't die.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's like it's not exciting if the tension and pressure is going to cause these two drivers to make not professional decisions.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yeah. I want some good, clean racing, my man.
Yeah. No, me too. And I hate to say it, but my maybe confidence or maybe appreciation, enjoyment. Maybe it's all wrapped up in one, but yeah, I think my maybe opinion of Max was tainted just a little bit from that, where I was like, bro, like that was blatant, my dude. Like you were all over the radio saying fuck this and fuck that and fuck you. Like, and then you like it was 25 seconds later. How long is a lap? How long is a lap?
Minute 20.
Bro, it must have been then 35 seconds later where you were saying fuck this and fuck that, and then you put it into Lewis. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a good look, brother. And I had a boatloads more confidence in him as maybe a driver, a teammate, a young gentleman, a professional. There's a lot that is wrapped up in that moment where it's like, bro, you look like me. You look like me throwing a temper tantrum, my dude. You just took two motherfuckers out of a race, and you almost hurt that guy. Mike, my man might have neck problems because you couldn't get, like, you were so
Just like
you were
caught
so,
up, twisted up
right,
in like your
right,
emotions and
right. And to me, bro, that I want the Seb Vettels, I want the Valtteries, I want the Pierre Gasly's, I want the Landos, man. The people who can be composed under pressure, and not even pressure, maybe even a step above. When the thing is actively against you,
yeah.
composure.
Well,
that was not composure.
No, and like yeah, and that's something I've seen from, like, I feel like I've seen it from both their sides, and I don't like it from either.
Yeah.
I mean, the race that Lewis did crash Max out and then finishes the race at Silverstone, and he's like, yeah, on top of his car, like, having this thing and no regard for, like, the fact that he binned
and
Max.
He wants Max to come over and pat him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
So
what are we doing here?
They both need to grow up, in my opinion, and be like, this is like, I mean, Lewis.
No, you said it. They need to grow the fuck up.
Lewis, like, I hate to say it because, like, but he has been in this situation a bit before. The year that we talked about it, the year that Nico beat him in the Drivers' Championship.
That was a bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath. He was actively trying to slow down the grid to allow people to catch up to Nico in the last race of the season so that he could pass him in the points. That's dangerous. Like, there are fucking normal roads in the U.S. that have minimum speed limits so that you do not cause accidents from people coming up too fast on you. And you're actively trying to slow down cars that are driving 200 miles an hour. Like, there's got to be, they are both experienced drivers. Lewis has been around a lot longer than Max, but Max has been around long enough to know that you got to be more mature than you were that fucking race, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's frustrating. I hate that it has to be such a huge conversation because we had so many other phenomenal things that fucking happened.
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas fucking just kicked from Mercedes for next year, going to Alfa Romeo, gets pole position in qualifying, wins the fucking sprint race, goes from, because he got the engine change and the new engine, starts P20 on the grid and makes it all the way up to P3 for a podium. Like,
insane.
Checo's the only other person who's fucking done that in recent memory, going from P20 to the podium. Like, that doesn't happen. That's phenomenal racing. Fucking Danny Ricciardo got a jump on Max at the start.
Such a good fucking start from Danny.
Clean.
Such a good start.
And he has struggled with that all year with his starts. You constantly, Danny Ricciardo starting P8. Oh, and at the first turn, he's falling back to P13. Like Danny got a fucking phenomenal jump on him. put himself
Well,
in
he
P1.
ate him up. It wasn't even a jump. He was gone.
Never looked back. His tires fucking gripped that ground. Boom. Right past him before you even knew what was happening. Lando, another phenomenal drive. Putting down lap after lap. Just great, solid pace. The McLarens looked so good out there. Charles Leclerc with Ferrari, like, he looked great out there. Checo going from P8 up to P3 before his 5-second penalty. Like, he was zooming around that track at the end. Carlos Sainz was only 3 seconds back from him when Valtteri was pushing on Checo and in that fight for P3. Sergio ended up gaining 2 seconds on Carlos Sainz in the last 5 or 6 laps to ensure that he ended up in that P5 instead of P6. Like, phenomenal racing from a number of people on the grid. George Russell, 3rd race out of 4 that he's been in the points. He's broken through that barrier, and now all of a sudden he's just like, boom, I'm here. Like,
yeah, which is crazy because, like, how many weekends were we saying, like, oh, is this the weekend he gets points? Oh, is this the weekend he gets points? And now it's just kind of like, I have a feeling if there's the conversation will be more interesting if he doesn't get points now. Like, that's just kind of where we expect him now, right?
The man went 34 starts, 34 races without a single point. And now in the last 4, he's had points in 3 of them.
Well, I can imagine the confidence boost would be insane when the top team on the grid wants you.
Definitely, but I mean,
talk about a boner, brother.
Even before that P2 that he put out in Belgium,
that was crazy. That was crazy.
I mean, whether you talk about the race, don't talk about the race, the 2-lap race, like,
the qualifying lap was amazing enough.
And
like,
all
that
of these
was
guys,
special enough.
There are guys out here on the grid that people consider to be like wet weather specialists. Like, Lance Stroll always performs really well in wet weather, and like this guy and that guy, and fucking George Russell's P2. Like,
nailed it.
Yeah. So I think I'm just extremely frustrated that Max and Lewis just overshadows so many phenomenal things from this weekend.
Well, it overshadows it in the conversation afterwards. I will say this. I commend the F1 broadcast during the race because they stopped talking about it really fucking quickly.
Yeah.
To the degree
Crofty and them, like, yeah.
They just, like, it was not a talking point because there were so many, and who knows why. I won't comment on why, but they stopped talking about it and were exploring the other more interesting points of the race and just kind of left that, it is what it is. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I love the fact that they gave the racers who are not usually in the limelight and are not usually like the main drivers of a weekend storyline. I appreciate the fact that they let the kind of, and maybe everybody saw it as this unsportsmanlike moment, so they just kind of brushed it under the rug for the broadcast and said, hey, we'll deal with it later. But they continued to, like, allow us to experience the race at hand. They didn't take anything away from Danny. They didn't take away anything from Lando. They didn't take away anything from Valtteri. I love that they lifted the drivers up that had a great day. They did not lift the drivers up that, yes, it's a storyline that probably sells better, but they didn't lift up the unsportsmanlike behavior from both of them, I would argue. So I love the fact that they just brushed by it on the broadcast. They say it happened, but look at Danny and look at Lando. Like, I loved that fact because it was egregious. But the one note I want to make about the McLarens, we can just kind of move on.
Oh yeah.
The one point about the McLarens that I thought was fascinating was Lando was quicker all day. He had more pace than Danny the whole time, but I thought it was hilarious that after a certain point in the race, he just said like, "Hey, I'm fine taking P2. Let's just get the 1-2 for the day."
He came on the radio. He's like, "Hey," like, and I respect the move too as a competitor. He's like, "Hey guys, like, I'm a little quicker. You like think
Right.
think Danny will let me by?" And they're like, "Lando, keep position." And he's like, "Yeah, all right." Like that was a little cheeky comment sliding it in there, like, "Hey guys, come on,
You gotta go
like,
for it, bro. Like he was quicker. So like on merit, Lando had a great day. Just overall, what was it since like 2012 or 2013?
So it was McLaren's first win since 2012, and it was their first 1-2 since 2010.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. So
Yeah, I
like
just
real
looked that
long
up.
time, real long time coming from McLaren. So yeah, just a big 1-2 from them.
Well,
They had it the whole time.
I am so excited for the both of them. I'm excited for Zach Brown because I really like Zach
Dude.
Brown as a CEO of
Dude.
McLaren and all, and he is all on board. And
He was so fucking happy that day. Like
Yeah.
he was beaming so much. It was like making me like all like weepy and shit. He was so fucking excited, and he's done so much work with McLaren. He's made a couple roster moves, gotten the car in line, and now Daniel and Lando are like really delivering. That's gotta be so vindicating for him, man.
Oh, it has to be. And I mean, like, just in general, it's so huge for them. They've gone through such a shift from the McLaren days back pre-hybrid era where they had Lewis, they had Fernando Alonso, like they've had multiple world champions for them to kind of rebuild, change their like dynamics and all, and then kind of continue to stay towards the top of the grid, be competitive, and now to be able to pull that off, like they had too much pace to be passed. Checo was there a couple of times and just couldn't get or sorry, not Checo. Max was stuck there behind Ricardo for a while and just didn't have the pace to get past the McLaren. The McLaren was like maybe not the fastest car on the grid, but fast enough when it was in the lead and open clean air to not get past. And that's like all
I think it was the straight line speed that was helpful.
It was, but like, I mean, to have that kind of straight line speed, like
Merc engine.
Bunch of other cars though don't have that straight line speed. Like
Bunch of other cars don't have Merc engines.
That's true. You got a point, but like the straight line speed, even, I mean, I would have imagined that Valtteri would have had trouble getting past them as well with Works Mercedes. Sure. Like it was.
Well, and that's not to say like not just like on engine merit, but like do you remember the move where Lewis tried to get past Lando going into turn one, and Lando towed, like he had miles per hour in the back pocket that he covered off Lewis and just hit the chicane and was gone.
Yep.
Like so not only did they have the pace and speed, but dude, Lando's fucking disgusting. Like that move, like it did not look clean in the sense of like it was always going to pay off, right? That was a very fast, little cover off. So
sharp little move. Cheeky little move by Lando.
I'd say so, man. So say what you want about the Mercedes, but I think I think the McLarens would have been fast enough and competent enough that even if they did have the pace, I think they were still up against the drivers.
Oh yeah, and I love to see that. And I mean, I can definitely admit I was a smidge disappointed that Lando didn't get P1 in that, solely based on the fact that he has performed just so well throughout the year and everything, and I really would love him to get his first win. That's the only reason he doesn't have a win in F1. This was his highest finish. I mean, the man has been all over the place, and then recently had a little bump in the road with a DNF, a P14, and a P10 in the last 3 races prior to Italy. Like, for him to bounce back after the rest of the year just having solid performance after solid performance after solid performance, like, I know it's one of those things where you're like, it's just a matter of time before he gets that P1. But, like, man, I would have loved it. But I love Danny Ricks getting a win after some of the struggles that he's had this year. He has been a positive force out there constantly.
Powerful smile.
He has never like gotten angry or upset about other people and this and that. Like, even like I would have to say, I think Danny Ricks has probably the best attitude of any of the drivers on the grid at this point in his career. When he was younger, I don't know, but right now he seems to be very, very happy with the fact that he is getting used to a new car and a new team. He does want to strive for that better performance and is disappointed with himself when he needs to be, but he is never bringing other people down, no matter how disappointed he is with the way he raced or this and that. He is always a positive
Well, he always
force.
looks at himself too.
Yeah.
But first, he's always like, "Oh, I have to look at what I did wrong."
We saw it last year with Renault. He got a fucking 5-second penalty in one of the races, and he's like, "Okay, I'll drive faster." And that's the only message that you get fucking in his team radio is like, "Okay, I'll drive faster." Like,
that probably sums him up like perfectly. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Right,
it's never anybody's fault, and not that it's his fault, but he's always willing to just take it on his shoulders and just, you know, keep pushing forward. So yeah, he's a great influence, I believe.
Yeah, and the man got a point from the sprint race. He got a point for fastest lap that he just fucking snuck in there right at the end of the race. Like, I thought Valtteri was going to hang on to that fastest lap, but nah, he slid in there right at the end with that little fastest lap by 0.15 second or 0.015 seconds. 15 thousandths of a second he got slid in there for that fastest lap.
That's crazy.
And like gets a nice little 27-point bump for the weekend from it.
Dude, what a big fucking weekend, man. That's insane. That's a lot of points.
Huge. I mean, he just I don't know what it was prior to the weekend, but he jumped up over Pierre Gasly, because Gasly got the DNF, and he's now 17 points up on Pierre. So he got, like, he was 10 points back from Pierre, and now he's 17 points up on him. Like, that is huge at that point. He just went from being that far down to jumping up towards being able to compete with Carlos Sainz, not that far from Leclerc either. Like, that's a huge swing for the middle of the pack, and also just for the constructors, that was a big swing for them this weekend. They went from being down to Ferrari to up 13.5 points in the constructors for third place. Like, that's a big swing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Massive weekend for McLaren. You love to see it. I think they have two of the better drivers on the grid.
Two of the most lovable, too. I mean, no offense to anyone else, but I think they're some of the more easily or most well-accepted drivers on the grid because of their personalities.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, very interesting, somewhat exciting, somewhat frustrating race. I guess any other points or topics, I guess, that you wanted to touch on? I know we didn't hit all the teams. Alpine had a really solid two cars in the points finish.
Yep.
But that was the only other thing that I kind of had for the weekend.
Well, the one thing we didn't touch on, 5 DNFs.
Yep.
Both AlphaTauris, no finish for them.
That was a caster curse, fully. I believe it. I will fully believe it because they go.
Okay.
Well, AlphaTauri is the only team that has gotten a points finish in every race this season.
Oh, what's going on with Pierre Gasly?
One of them doesn't start, and Pierre's out fucking before you know it. 3 laps into the race, like, come on.
I was so like, what the fuck? It was so like, I was just sitting down on the couch with my first coffee for the race. If any of you have watched the Race Companions, you'll know it's about two coffees for a race.
You need it. It's 9 a.m.
Dude,
I've got a coffee and a Bloody Mary. Justin's got 2 coffees.
Dude, I was sitting down on the couch and great pre-show from Sam Collins. I was super excited. I sit back down, and there's all Yuki's engineers just pushing his car off the fucking grid. I'm like, no, come on. And then later, I believe it was in the race when Gasly crashed out. It's like, no. Yep. So for the Red Bull camp, it was not a good weekend, only having Sergio finish. So for me, I thought that was a pretty interesting storyline. With Yuki itself, I would just like to comment. I'm learning to love this kid more and more. So after the interview where they had just announced that they had recontracted with him, they asked him. They said, Yuki, like, what are your feelings about being re-signed? And Yuki was like, oh, I'm pretty surprised. And they said, why? And he's like, well, I kept crashing. So I love that Yuki's still in the sport. I think that's a hilarious answer. Yeah, but
that's like the interview little clips with him like are like just
they're gold. They're hilarious.
It is. I mean, earlier in the season, they're like, so Yuki, as a rookie, like what's your favorite part of being in F1? And Yuki goes, I really like the food.
Yep, yep. And he talks about how Olive Garden's like close by. I was like, you fucking maniac.
The man is like the lowest paid driver on the grid. And he's just like, I'm here for the food and the crashes, baby.
I mean, I love the guy's spirit. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to finish the race on Sunday. But yeah, I think that a bit like about covers it. The one thing I would like to mention, he didn't bring it through in the race. I think he was having problems, but Giovinazzi was like I think he started like P8 in the race.
I'll double check. I thought he started P7. He was P8 in qualies, but with Bottas's grid penalty to start for the engine change, he was moved up to P7. He ended
up sliding back, but he's been impressing me more and more the last like 2-3 races. I think he's had some pretty good performances.
Well, he started P7 in Netherlands. He was 14 in Belgium, but he's had some like really solid like starts throughout the season. I've been honestly pretty impressed, and I like that they are keeping. I hope, at least, I don't know.
I think they will
keeping,
and that's why I was bringing it up. I think it's going to be an interesting year for him next year because it only feels like he's leveling up. Yeah. Where he's someone I wasn't paying attention to last year at all, but recently, like I said, it does. It feels like he's leveling up.
Yeah, I mean, I think earlier in the season, the most I had to say for him was he looks so Italian that I think he needs to start his own restaurant. And
dude, which is terrible. Yeah, you can only comment like on his hair,
and like the memes that I saw on Twitter or sorry, I'm like referencing to my second monitor that no one can see. Memes of him being like Italian Jesus and everything, and like the man's putting in some really solid performances on the grid as well. Nick Latifi got re-signed with Williams for the upcoming season to be Alex Albon's teammate, so I think that as of right now, that final Alfa Romeo, I was almost at AlphaTauri. The final Alfa Romeo seat for Giovinazzi is probably the only one that is yet to be confirmed. Maybe the Haas seats, but I don't see those changing.
No, they're both signed.
Okay, they are. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So
the one thing I'll say about Williams is thinking about Latifi. So this is an opportunity where Alex gets to look really fucking good. Maybe. I know that's not like a storyline like of the weekend. That's like 2022 season, but I'm calling it now. This is an opportunity for Albon to look really fucking good
or really fucking bad.
Oh, sure, yeah, if he just doesn't show up at all and like Latifi like out-qualifies him and everything.
I mean,
but in a world where he was not able to come up bacon against Max, I think Latifi being, drivers 1 and 2 are main competitors, I think Albon's really going to be able, I think he's going to get a bunch of out-qualifies. I think he's going to get some really good races over Latifi. That's going to give him a little more staying power in Formula 1. And that's my point. I think we're going to see at least 2 years out of Albon because Latifi's his teammate.
I think that, and I also think that the fact that the Williams just seems to be putting together a better car over this past year or over this season than they have in previous years, and have been more competitive and everything. I think that is a good opportunity for Albon to come in and potentially have some good performances out the gate with Williams, which will look even better due to the perception of Williams currently, not historically, but the current perception of Williams as a kind of back of the pack team. If Albon comes out, he's putting in points, finishes, and everything, that's going to look phenomenal. Even though it is new cars, new era of F1, new rule set, and everything.
It's going to lift them up.
The historical perception and especially recent history will look really good for Alex. I think if he can come out and perform as well as he's showing he can perform when he is not as under pressure and under the microscope as he was with the Red Bull the Red Bull team next to Max.
Because he's winning boards at DTM or in DTM, and it's impressive.
Yeah.
Which is leading me to say I really think this guy's gonna make a pretty strong comeback. So I guess that's just commenting on shifting around. But yeah, overall I think it was just I think it was a really, really exciting weekend. Big shakeup for Drivers' Championship, big shakeup for Constructors' Championship, with both of the protagonists being taken out and having their number 2 drivers coming up and really, really showing up. So a couple of just interesting storylines coming out of the weekend. Just overall, I'm really happy for Danny, really happy for Lando. I think Valtteri is showing an ease that we haven't seen in a long time. I think that Alfa Romeo contract has given him a peace of mind that really showed this weekend. I'm really looking forward to Sochi. We have some technical turns coming up. We have some long straights coming up as well. So look to see the Mercedes, the McLarens being fast.
It's going to be interesting, though, because that's going to be a huge, huge thing with how teams are setting up their cars, because the setups, you can say, hey, set it up for the straightaway, but if you're getting blown past on the turns and on the curves because you only have that straight line speed with the wings that you're running and the setup that you're running on your car, then, hey, that might not be enough. So that'll be interesting to see.
we have the medium section that's like that club foot looking section. That's not an easy section to get through depending on what your spoiler size is. If you're fixing for the straights, that section gets tougher. If you're fixing for that section, your straights get tougher.
Because that's almost that's like, it's not, that is a high speed turn. It's not,
I think it's like a sixth or seventh gear turn, most likely.
But that is still a high speed turn. So I'm excited. There are a lot of technical turns. I honestly really like the Sochi track because you have like such a good mix. You have some higher speed turns. You have some long straights. You have some very technical turns. You have like a little bit of everything kind of in that. Some really solid left-hand turns, some really solid right-hand turns. Like there's a really good mix going into it. So I'm looking forward to it. And should be a fun race weekend in a couple weeks. I'm hoping, just as a precursor, I think we may be able to do another race companion, so I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to do that. We'll be able to tell everyone officially next week what the plan is and everything, but
yeah,
I'm hoping to get back to that and excited about it. So
nice. So that's what's coming up in F1. That was the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Just to recap again, we had Daniel 1, Lando 2, Valtteri 3 after some shenanigans with Sergio, and you get a penalty, and you get a penalty, and you get a penalty. So yeah, man, just a great weekend. I'm happy to chat with you about it. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised we came so in line about the Max and Lewis coming together. I thought we may have had varying degrees just because I was so harsh on the Dane. But yeah,
I can't. When those incidents happen, I can't. I try my best to be impartial because it is like extremely dangerous and everything, and it's not necessarily like who wins out and who loses out because of it. So I do my best to be impartial, even though I am a big fan of Max. But yeah.
Yeah, you just want to see people come out okay.
Yeah, and I want them to like win on their skills and the ability of them to work with their team and their car. So the one thing that I did, and we both I think forgot to mention, you may have briefly hit it like for a hot second, but not only did Danny Ricks do a shoey, but we got Lando to do a shoey too, and he did not look excited.
Neither of them did. Neither of them did. Danny was like, "Oh, this is worse than I remember." And Lando said, "Fuck out of here."
I feel bad for Danny in a sense, just on a side note, because
now
he has to. I don't necessarily believe that the one Renault podium that he had, that he was like, I forgot to do the shoey. I don't think he wants to do the shoeys anymore. But the commentators are all so in on it. I'm like, bro, you're sweating in your shoes for it's great for like the first win of your career if that's what you do, and it's like a shoey, this is an Australian thing, like whatever. But like, man, the man has won 8 races now.
Dude, can you imagine if he ever, like, dude, let's say he has the best fucking 2022 and he is Lewis status of winning races. You think he's going to chug that foot sweat every time? Bro, eventually he's got to be like, all right, yo, I love you guys, but
Yeah, dude, if I was his girlfriend, I'd be like, Listerine.
Yo, go brush your teeth, motherfucker.
No, not one sweat, like the whole bottle. Rinse your mouth until you finish the whole bottle of Listerine, and then I will kiss you. Like, that's gross. that's where I'm at with it. Like,
and Lando, you hit the nail on the head, bro. You hit it, man. Lando was disgusted.
It was straight regret. He's like holding up the shoe. He's like, did I really just do that? He's like, I can still taste it. Like, nah.
So gross.
You better
Not
better
even that was
save.
Daniel's shoe.
You better-
It wasn't even his own shoe.
You gotta save some champagne from your bottle afterwards to fucking rinse that mouth out. Like,
Gross, man.
get that out of here, man. So yeah,
Yeah.
ending the Italian Grand Prix on a funnier note, a lighter note, and everything. But Justin, what do we have for some League of Legends talk for
gross,
the day?
So we don't have any European players that like to show out as much as with a shoey. Now, so let's set this up a little bit. We've been talking about it. This will be the first time we're like going this route, but I think it's the route we're supposed to take.
Yeah.
So
first off, I guess, Justin, who do we got? What teams do we have going into Worlds
Fnatic,
for LEC?
Mad Lions, Rogue for Europe.
Yep.
So Mad Lions and Fnatic were 1-2, and Rogue came out 3. It was Mad Lions and Fnatic in the final. Now, the goal of these conversations leading up to Worlds is to get a sense of what the other regions are, what they were playing in their final form, like their playoffs, and what we expect them to look like going into the first stage of Worlds.
Yeah.
We want to get a sense of their champion picks. We want to get a sense of how they were playing.
Yeah, because
just
especially
overall,
with Riot, we do not expect them to make as many drastic changes to the meta leading into Worlds as they may have done like years and years ago. They have really settled down on big changes and big patches right before Worlds. So I think we should fully expect to see a lot of these picks that we're seeing in the playoffs, in the championships, and finals and everything kind of going into Worlds until that new Worlds meta kind of comes together with what the teams decide is the best strategies, best play styles, and whatnot during their scrims and group stages and round robins and everything at the World Championship.
Right. So we'll have most likely like a patch conversation much closer to the actual tournament. I know they had format conversations, but the bottom line is we don't know. I'm not sure the patch that we're playing on right now is going to be all of the changes that we're going to see going into Worlds. I know there were changes to like Fizz and some other things, so
There'll
we
be some
may
slight, shifts.
yes. Some slight shifts around. We'll cover all of that, but the main goal is each for this week and the next 2. This week we're covering Europe. Next week we're covering LCK, and then we'll do LPL after that, which will give us a good sense of what to expect from the top regions, the top teams going in, and so we can have at least educated conversations and not just be like, oh, well, this person used to be pretty good. We want to be able to watch these games for the quality that I'm sure they're going to bring. Now, can you give me, Aaron, any just like initial impressions, players, any like play styles, teams? What's like a good note to start on here for us?
Well, I think just in general, looking at the teams, I think it's probably easiest to kind of compare the lanes together and everything. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the tournament statistics and everything from the LEC finals and all of that, the summer playoffs and all with the champions that were being picked. And so I think that based on that, I mean, for top lane, for instance, we have Armut for Mad Lions, Adam for Fnatic, and Odawamna for Rogue. So you are seeing some more of these kind of carry type picks. Armut has performed extremely well for Mad Lions. Gangplank, Gwen, Gnar being kind of his top champions there. Adam is interesting because he has some of those aggressive picks. He has the Renekton and Camille in his top 3, but he also has the Dr. Mundo in his top 3.
I don't think we see that at Worlds.
I don't know, but at the same time, I feel as though, and this is just a note on Fnatic, I feel as though Adam is a secondhand thought for them. That he is not. They're not playing around him in most of their games. It seems as though they're focusing a lot of their pressure on the bot lane and everything with Upset and Hillsong. They are relying on the strength of those two players, and they are really like. I fully expect Upset and Hillsong to be able to take on pretty much any bot lane pretty competitively throughout Worlds. I don't think that they're going to get outclassed very often unless they get maybe like, I don't know, like level 1 bush ganked or something and get pushed really far behind off of something silly. I think that just naturally they are both two very good players that are going to be competitive. And then we see Niski playing a lot of champions that are going to be roaming and going to be actively trying to interact with the other lanes. And I think we'll see that primarily in the bot lane. His top 3 champions, Twisted Fate with the ultimate, Rise with the ultimate, Silas with stealing other ultimates that most likely will help him get to another lane quickly to help out. So I think just in terms of Fnatic and all, I think that will be kind of their focus, and that is why that kind of weird Dr. Mundo sliding in there could come into play potentially.
My only concern about leaning on the Dr. Mundo is they dropped it against Rogue and they dropped it against Mad Lions. They stopped picking it. So that's what leads me to believe I doubt we're going to see it on the lead up to Worlds. I have a feeling they maybe aren't a fan of whatever it brings. They may not think it was that strong, but that's a small caveat. What I will go with you on is the Renekton and the Camille pick, in the sense that they might not be playing around their top laner, but they're at least putting him on things that he at least has weapons, right? Renekton and Camille being top played bodes well for me, where it means that he's comfortable in the tough matchups, and it means that he's comfortable playing something where he's going to be strong side in the Camille. So I like that because he has a very, very tough tournament ahead of him.
He does.
As far as top laners,
I really expect him to be in the toughest position of anyone on Fnatic. He's the newest player on the team. He's got a lot of tough competition in the top lane. So yeah, that does concern me a little bit. Whereas like Odawamna for Rogue, he has the Ornn in his top 3. He has Jace, Camille, Ornn. Ornn is not, like, obviously that's like his ability to play a weak side pick, but also to add that additional value of the item boosts and everything.
It's so good. It's
and the
so
item upgrades.
good.
It's incredibly good. And
the engage option solid too. It's a really, really good pick.
Yeah, it's a great pick, and I think he is going to perform really well on that pick if needed. But the fact that I feel like with Adam, the Dr. Mundo is more of a survive in advance kind of pick, whereas the Ornn for Odawamna is more of a, hey, like, we trust you to hold your own, to utilize this pick, and then to also give us those fucking item upgrades and get us going later on in the game. They're like, we expect to make it to late game with you on this champion, so you can give us that added bonus and everything there.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So, but I think that in terms of like the junglers and everything, I think that shows a lot of consistency amongst the European junglers in terms of their go-to champions, what they're comfortable playing, and everything. The Viego, the Lee Sin being back up there for top picks for both Elyoya and Blippo, inspired with the Viego and the Zinzao. The Trundle is like still... I'm still iffy on it because I feel like it is such a it's more of a niche pick for me. Like you really have to be aware of what you're picking it into for that to be as valuable of a pick. Otherwise, it's like, hey, I smack things with a club and I can run a little fast, and sometimes I can like block you with a pillar. Like those aren't things that are valuable enough for me to pick it unless you're running into scenarios where there is a heavy tank on the opposite side that you can really like, hey, I'm gonna have issues with how tanky this motherfucker is gonna be. Throw the Trundle at him, get yourself big, shrink them down, let's go.
And to that point, just to dig in on the Trundle just a little bit, it doesn't seem like the games that it's being picked in, are they really combining, and when I say they, I mean any of the teams that are picking them, it doesn't seem like they're pitting it against these, like, big old tanky boys. So it's something about the utility of the pillar, right? I think they really like the disruption element of it. I think it gives them, like, maybe... I don't know.
Is Gragas not strong enough right now?
I've seen him more in Europe, but I'm not sure. He's probably like A tier.
Because, like, I don't see Trundle and a Trundle pillar being much better than a tank Gragas throwing his barrel ultimate and everything to knock someone back. I feel like that is a much more valuable type of disruption ability in that jungle role and everything. And I also find it interesting that they are playing it in Europe in the jungle comparatively to like NALCS, where I would say we have typically seen that in more of the support role. Like, we're not like other regions who are playing it. It seems like it's not necessarily a jungler as much, where here in Europe, I feel like it has been pretty consistently a like jungle champion as opposed to a support.
Right. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Unfortunately, I have a feeling we're going to see it a little bit more on the lead up to World, or like, I think we're going to see it a little bit more at Worlds. And it could be just the numbers, like that may be something we're missing, where like maybe he is just like busted, like he's just doing too much damage or something. It could be something like that, but that's a good note, because yeah, he's getting played like crazy in Europe. Viego's still getting played like crazy. Lee Sin. It's interesting. Pretty much all of these junglers have the same champion pool, except we see a variation from Selfmade, the Vitality jungler. He's playing Diana a little bit, but that didn't really matter. Overall, the champion picks are pretty similar.
Yeah, it didn't last too long for Selfmade with the
the
pick.
No, it did not. But dude, the on junglers, I just want to stick on Elyoya. His presence in the games is absurd. He demands so much attention. I think it was game 3 or game 4 in the finals where he Viego'd over the pit and stole the Baron from them. And then I'm pretty sure they came back and fucking won that game. Like, he is insane. That steal was... There were 5 blue members in the pit, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, that's mine, thanks." And he was just right back over the wall.
Yoink,
dude! Yeah. He's insane. The way he was moving with Kaiser in the final against Fnatic, the way him and Kaiser were moving around, they were fucking glued to each other. And then on top of it, like, man, there was something about the fucking Braum pick that just totally bodied Fnatic in the final, which makes me, and this is going to looking forward, the next role I want to get to is the support role. But what I'm getting at with Elioya and Kaiser is their synergy was so strong, and Kaiser on the Braum was just shutting everybody down. So that's a comment on just like team participation and communication, and B, like they just understand what works for them so well that I really hope they are picking the Braum at Worlds, because that's definitely going to win them fucking games.
Well, and that's kind of something that I had brought up previously when we were looking at these picks and everything. We're like, why is North America? Why are they picking the Trundle? Why are we like whatever? And other like support champions, I was like, pick Braum.
Mm-hmm.
It's not banned.
Mm-hmm.
You're just leaving
it's never going to be banned.
It's not, and that's another champion that I would think is more disruptive and better at what Trundle does than Trundle, unless you're looking, well, in terms of Trundle support, unless you're looking for fucking more damage from your support, which you typically are not, like Braum.
You just need lockdown.
Pick Braum.
Yeah. Well, and it was so strong. It was so strong against the Cassiopeia. Did he play it against he didn't play it against the Twisted Fate, but it was like just so many options of just putting that wall up and saying, "Nah, you're not going to hit my team." So I think that was a really strong pick. Hylissang looked super strong on the Rakan, just sticking on supports. That was a big focus for them in the series against Mad Lions. I love the priority on it.
That had been such a huge pick ban throughout the playoffs in terms of like really primarily being banned against Hylissang and all. Like there was some other different picks and everything throughout. But that was a huge one for teams like looking at picks and bans and everything to really try and get that away from Hylissang. So.
Yeah. Well, I think what's like the conversation about the supports can then go up into like they're players that want the role of engage, right? And you get the Thresh, the Braum, the Rakan that can dive in, crowd control people, just absolutely demand attention and knock up carries. Like, I think it's super scary to be at a tournament where you have so many high-level supports, because, like, it wants to be the role that you can just ignore, but and speaking specifically about Kaiser and Hylissang, I'm not sure I've seen the same amount of spunk from Trimby, but Hylissang and Kaiser specifically are so good, and they make so many heads-up plays that they're like breaking the role of support. Yeah. And Hylissang having champions like Rakan allow him to just break that mold, break the role, and really catch out his opponents.
Yeah, and so like with Hylissang, I just looked, and so during the playoffs for the LEC, Hylissang in games with Fnatic, Rakan made it through pick and ban without being selected one time out of them playing, let's see here, 4, 7, 17, 22 games, and it was not picked or banned a single time in 22 games. So it was pick banned for 21 out of 22. Like, that is extremely valuable when it was not that kind of pick for other people. I mean, Mickey X to some extent, but like, that's not a champion that is pick banned like that for most people. I do, just staying on the topic of supports, I know I had talked about how I feel pretty good with Cloud9, Liquid, and 100 Thieves being the teams from NALCS going to Worlds and everything, or from LCS going into Worlds, because I feel pretty good about their teams and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about Rogue. I'm concerned because I feel like support is just extremely, extremely important right now. I think that, like you had mentioned, Kaiser and Elyoya working together for Mad Lions and going
They're never in lane. They're never in lane.
Yeah, but I think that that's so valuable right now is having a strong support and a strong jungler. And I am a bit concerned about the support and jungle synergy between Inspired and Trimby. I don't think that they are quite where you need to be competitive at Worlds. I mean, we will see with the qualifying groups and the playing groups and everything how that works out, but I think that is an immediate spot of concern for Rogue going into Worlds. And I think it's something to really keep a close eye on in terms of if Rogue does not perform well, I pretty heavily expect it to be with kind of in part due to their struggle or potential struggles at support and jungle as those roles. So,
because I think everybody can kill CS. I think everybody can lane. Everybody can, like, backhand losing matchup. But I think what really breaks games is the jungle support throwing monkey wrenches into the plan. And if you're not able to surprise your opponents, you're not going to be able to get advantages. And I think this is what you were alluding to. At Worlds, we see so many surprises coming from the support and the jungle role and totally, flipping a route or, totally fucking with the timing where, a Leona shows up where she wasn't supposed to be.
Right.
Those are the kind of things that break games wide open, and I'm not sure that's the same creativity that we're going to see from Trimby and Inspired. I know Larson, Hansama, and Odoamna have been competing at a high level for a decent amount of time. To your point, I just want to see them be able to tie it all together, and I think from the jungle and support role, we may see the biggest discrepancy.
Yeah, and I think that's just my biggest concern for them going into Worlds. I am not necessarily feeling like that is it's do or die. I could see the fact that, or I could see the potential for Hansama and Larson and Odoamna to carry them through into the regular round robin group stage and everything. But yeah. I can easily see them having issues based on those roles and being a little bit less impressive, I guess, or less prepared for international competition against some of the really phenomenal supports and what we're expecting to see some really solid bot lanes and everything who have international experience coming back to that and everything. I will say though, speaking on their counterparts in the bot lane, Hansama is a really solid AD carry. He's playing the right picks. He's got the Varus, Ashe, Aphelios as his top 3 picks. The Aphelios especially is, I feel like, going to be a really, really big pick at Worlds along with the Varus. Those two, with the crowd control that Varus has, with the damage and everything and the poke that they both can put out and all, the tower pushing abilities that the Aphelios has, those champions are going to fit, I think, right into that scheme. Whereas, I mean, Carzzy and Upset have Ezreal as one of their top 3 for both of them, and I don't feel like Ezreal is going to be as strong of a pick as consistent of a pick as it was in the LEC in the Worlds tournament. I also don't expect Carzzy to be able to get the Kalista, which is one of his top 3. The Kalista and Ezreal, like the fact that those two are part of his top 3, and you don't see the Varus, you don't see the Aphelios, it worries me a little bit.
The Ezreal, I think he has real pop-off potential. He was playing stylishly, I would say, in the finals, which doesn't get to happen often. With an Ezreal player, a lot of times the game is over before they get to style, whether they won or lost.
Yeah, and I don't expect them to be able to easily get to that point on the world stage.
I will say this, though. Carzzy, it wasn't just after a certain point. I think he was playing it to a level that I'm not sure other ADs are playing right now. And the build seemed on point. The team was giving him red buff, importantly. So there were a lot of fights that were made or broken off the fact that he had red buff. And he was able to just hit Q after Q after Q. So maybe my point isn't that Carzzy is really good on Ezreal. Maybe my point is that Mad Lions are pretty good at playing around the pick and giving him the space. Dude, I'm telling you, go back and watch the team fighting from the final. The way they're like giving time to Carzzy to hit the auto attacks and the Qs, it's like it's pretty fucking good. He goes toe to toe with Niski on the Cassiopeia. Like they're both playing kind of the same role in that game 1, and it's dude, Carzzy gets the upper hand every time. So I think Mad Lions is playing with the Ezreal pick well. Now I will say I'm hesitant as well as you are, but I think they're playing it just a touch better than some others are that are going to give them an edge just overall with the pick, if they choose to go with it.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but I also feel like the fact that they are picking it when it seems to be, according to all other regions, a suboptimal pick comparatively to the current AD carry meta, that is what concerns me. I can definitely understand and appreciate Carzzy's ability to play the pick very well. His auto spacing is right on point.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
But no, positioning and everything, like I fully trust that Carzzy's going to be able to put himself in the right spots, because that's why Mad Lions has outperformed G2, who have Reckless as their AD carry, who's been one of the most renowned Western players for years. Upset, who's
not just in his role, just overall.
Upset, who's been kind of touted as like one of the best young AD carries coming up in the LEC and everything for the past couple of years. He has performed extremely well and kind of made a name for himself and everything. I can appreciate it, but I don't know if, like, hey, great to have Ezreal as a pocket pick. I'm have a slight concern that they're not.
No. That's the issue. Is don't have Ezra as a pocket pick. Have it as the thing that you're fully building the plan around. That's the issue. Is when these teams are like, oh, let's just give him something safe. They don't team fight that well then.
Yeah, well, and I like teams having their own style and everything, but my concern is that based on what we're seeing from other regions, the world's meta will develop. It does every year. It always has top picks that are in each role and everything that teams are fighting for, and a play style that is common among everyone. Whoever typically plays that play style the best wins worlds. And so the fact that none of the other regions are playing this Ezreal pick, I do not see the world's meta shifting so that Ezreal is a dominant AD carry in the the team comps that people are picking. Yeah, Mad Lions could play around it and they could get wins on it. Do I think that will necessarily, based on the way that every other region is playing, be a pick that, like, if Ezreal is the counter to what everyone else is playing, no one's seeing it yet. So, like, either it's not going to be as good when you're playing against these teams that are already not playing it, or maybe you know something that they don't. Like, maybe it's going to be great for Mad Lions, and they're playing around it and play style and everything. Them and Fnatic with Ezreal being a top pick for upset as well. Hey, maybe that'll fucking work out great. But
we just haven't seen it historically be the case.
Right, and also in terms of current meta in other regions, I don't see the meta developing around Ezreal being a solid pick. Sure. We'll see. And that's why I was more saying, like, pocket pick. Maybe it's something you break out that you feel comfortable on, but can be really good. But my concern is that they're not playing as many of the, like, really heavily focused champions by other regions. I mean, the top champions for other regions I would expect to be the Ashe, Varus,
what about this?
and Thalios.
What about this? Okay, so you're up against Mad Lions is up against 100 Thieves in their group for however many games they have to play against them. What do their first 3-round bans look like? They could ban Kalista, they could ban Tristana, and then they could ban, let's say,
Varus.
Varus. So you could ban those 3 champions. That fucks FBI. That totally removes his champion pool. That puts him on, like, Ashe or, like, Xayah or something dumb, which then makes them have to focus on getting Rakan too if they, like, want to make it beneficial.
Why
that whole time you just have, we were just gonna pick Ezreal the whole time and we just pinched you in one role. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying pinching the AD carry role is like the most groundbreaking thing for pick and ban. It's just interesting. That's all. It's just interesting.
And I like that they have the ability to play it comfortably, but I would
not comfortably. I think above average.
Yeah, play
above average.
Well, actually, I would say far above average. Far above average. Like, they play it better than I would say most people play Ezreal currently.
You just don't think that's going to be enough?
I don't know. I don't think it will be. But I think that what's more of a concern to me in terms of the champion picks and everything is that you're not seeing what other regions are picking as the strongest bot lane champions. I think it's
which makes you have to ask, what are they seeing that we don't? I think that's the only thing.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily, hey, I don't think that they can play it, but, like, when they're in these playoff games, these tough games and everything,
it's winning.
They're not picking what other regions are seeing as the best in that role. And with upset's a little different. The Tristana I like to see because I think Tristana is huge to be able to utilize with them because that's
like meta.
Well, and they're focusing bot lane, so the ability to get bot lane ahead, Tristana ahead, start pushing towers. That is a Fnatic, like, kind of staple and everything. The Xayah makes sense. Hylissang, we just talked about. He's playing the Rakan constantly. Yeah. So upset being on the Xayah with the Rakan makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The Ezreal there too. It just, like, it's not that I don't think they can play these other champions. It's the fact that I am worried that they are more comfortable on what most people consider and most regions consider to be a suboptimal pick than they are picking the what is predominantly considered meta AD carries and bot lane champions. The fact that they are going out of their way to pick something that most regions consider suboptimal, like you said, like I said, like maybe they know something that we don't, but like I trust the majority in this sense of the majority of the top teams in each region are not really going for the Ezreal. It's a weird one for me.
Okay. Let me go real deep in the weeds with you.
Okay.
So, in the European playoffs, there were more Baron attempts per, 10 minutes than there were in North America.
Okay.
So, what I'm thinking is there is a tendency for the top European teams to skirmish more overall and also skirmish around the post 20-minute objectives. They were threatening Baron so often right when it was available. So, I think there is something that they really like about the Ezreal that gives them it's like perma security on early dragons. You can always throw the True Shot Barrage. It gives you so many options in that river, the Pixel Brush. Like you can test every blind area. So I think there's something about them wanting to have weapons against the teams that just want to fucking pedal to the metal all the time, where they say like we have something to always be like vigilant. So I think it's an answer to the skirmishing and Baron pressure that these top European teams are putting on.
Well, and I think that makes sense a little bit too, because I mean, some people might say, Justin, pick Ashe then. You've got your hawk shot. But then in that sense, like, yeah, that
you don't have the mobility back.
You don't have the mobility. You don't have the poke potential to poke at someone and try and wear someone down who's taking the Baron.
Yep. So combine that with a red buff, dude. The amount of times he nailed somebody with a red buff Q and then they ate him the fuck up. Yeah. Dude, it's
and so the only counter I would say to that is, hey, like, I think Varus is stronger. Varus is stronger.
Varus is so good in the poke.
In those positions and everything. But you're right. Like, you're not getting the red buff procs on things. You're not being able to, like, really get the chase down potential other than the Varus ultimate. How do you say it? Because I need to pick one.
I think I just say Varus.
Okay, the Varus ultimate, like, that's a one-time thing. Like, you have the slow from the hail of arrows, but two abilities.
It's constant pressure from that Q, like, dude.
The Q,
it's constant pressure.
And it doesn't have to be a red buff. It could be one of the slowing abilities.
The Iceborne Gauntlet, that's huge.
Different build paths and everything, depending which way you go for the Ezreal and all. So I don't hate the pick, and that makes a bit more sense why it might be picked more frequently. But I would.
Hey, I'm no K-Drill. I'm no expert. It's just interesting.
Well, yeah, and I just wish that I knew a bit more assuredly that they're, like, the fact that the meta chant Aphelios, Varus, and Ashe are not really on their radar. I mean, Carzzy has the Ashe, but the other ones are not really on the radar. Like, Carzzy's not going to get Kalista. He's not going to get Kalista at Worlds. Kalista is going to be a 99% ban rate at Worlds.
Yeah, and if it gets through, it'll likely win.
And if it... Yeah.
Weirdly.
Or it will go to someone who has a weaker bot lane, most likely, that the other teams are like, hey, let's ban priority their fucking insane mid laner instead of throwing this Kalista ban out at a bot laner that we think we can beat anyway.
Right.
So, I mean,
speaking of mid laners,
I think I mean, I don't have a ton really to speak on with them.
Neither did I. It looks so similar.
But the one thing that I will say is that Niski, I think, and I would say Humanoid are playing champions that are pretty consistent with what has won Worlds before. Doinby, that is his style. Niski modeled a lot of his style when he was on Cloud9 last year and into this year with Fnatic off of how Doinby played. Being a roaming mid laner who pushes lanes, gets out, helps his other lanes get ahead, doesn't lose too much, utilizes the ultimates, the roaming, and the timings and all to be able to get ahead without losing much. Like, that is quintessential, I think, right now in the mid lane meta. I do think that it's interesting that Larson has the focus on Azir, because I do expect Azir to be pretty popular at this year's Worlds as well. I think that we have a lot of like solid Azir players that are going to be coming from the mid lane, and I think that that is a good pick to have. But just in general, the Rise, Twisted Fate, Silas, Azir,
Ori.
Orianna, that's kind of what I expect. So
Irelia,
I think Niski can play that. I believe he has
he
previously.
played it in the finals.
So yeah, I fully expect the mid laners to kind of fit in well, and I don't expect any of them to really get put in the dirt or put in their place or anything. They all seem pretty solid in their roles and everything. So I don't have too much for them, but I am excited to see just them doing their thing at Worlds, because I think they're all pretty impressive players in general. So
yeah, I think I know the least about Larson. I'm very excited to watch Humanoid at Worlds. He plays in a way that is surprising. That could be the title of this week's podcast, but he does. He plays in a way that is surprising on champions that are common and well known. And I think that's the hallmark of a great player. So I'm really excited to see him again at this Worlds tournament. But yeah, unfortunately, the champion pools do look pretty similar to what we see across the world. So not too much to say there.
And Niski, I think, is the one that I am the most or I guess least concerned about, because he has these champion picks, the Twisted Fate, the Silas, the Rise, but he also does play the Irelia. He plays the LeBlanc really well. I fully expect these mid laners to kind of stand up to the World's competition pretty confidently and pretty well.
I agree.
So.
Yeah,
but I guess that kind of brings us to the end of our LEC little preview and all. We'll definitely talk more Worlds coming up in later episodes leading up to Worlds, but we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
And we're back. Okay. So that was a little bit of a setup for the LEC, what we expect. Obviously, it's not our home region. So those were kind of takes from educating ourselves over the past week on what the LEC was, what it was all about. So next week, look forward to kind of same type discussion. We're going to cover LCK next week and then do the LPL after that on the lead up to Worlds. I believe it's October 8th or October something such. So we'll use the rest of September to learn more about the other top two regions. Now, Aaron, if you don't mind, you want to indulge me with some Magic the Gathering conversations here?
Oh, I absolutely will. And just as you said, though, I just double checked it. So we've got next week's episode the following week. So we'll be able to talk LCK next week, LPL the following week. And then we will be a single day into the World Championships for the following episode. So the World Championships start on October the 5th. our next episode or following episode to starting Worlds will be on October the 6th. So
wow. Okay, so we'll even have like first day impressions.
So we'll have some, we'll have
hell yeah,
our little lead up to Worlds with LPL and LCK in the upcoming weeks, and then we'll be able to give some first impressions and just kind of roll right into Worlds with expectations and all after that first day and everything. So looking forward to that. But Justin, Magic the Gathering, I know you had some games to talk about. I'm excited to hear. You said, I don't know if you want to jump right into it, but you said that there was an intriguing ban that came up. And was this in the Commander 9 playgroup, or was this in the playing with the Discord or anything?
The overall world of Commander.
Oh, overall. Gotcha.
Yeah. And therein lies like my initial problem, the problem that I brought to the play group, and the problem that was surprisingly solved unexpectedly. Okay, so Sheldon Menery, the creator of the Commander format, the guy who used to sit around at GPs with his buddies in between rounds of, playing Modern or Legacy or whatever the fuck they were doing, and they would say, man, I don't want to just play Modern. So they came up with Commander, right? And now, many, many, many years removed from the inception of the format, he is still the head of he makes all the rules. He has hand chosen his rules committee. He has influence over the format as a whole. So that's where my frustrations start. Now, there have been other bans in the format, like I was just getting into Commander when Flash was banned. That's another conversation. I was, we were here for the Hull Breacher ban. We talked about that. They banned Iona and unbanned Painter Servant. It was kind of like, okay, I think, Iona sounds like she sucks. That's fine. But now we were encountered with a ban of a commander that I think is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. Came out, I think, last year, like a year and a half ago. His name's Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. Yep. So he's a 5-color commander, but he does not have a 5-color casting cost. You can use any color of mana to cast him. It's 5 generic. Now, he brings a land onto the battlefield. It can be any land. Most of the times, it's the best land in your deck. And then he has the activated ability of 2 Wooburg, and then you get 3, we call it spinning the wheel, where you get to exile the top 3 and you get to cast them for free. You just paid 7 mana. You should, get these three spells. People had a big problem with Golos. They didn't like it. There's conversations of, even like trying to build a bad Golos deck, like it still, does the thing. It halves commander cost every time you kill it, because effectively every time it enters, it brings a land in. Commander cost is 2 more. Every time he enters, he brings 1 more. So effectively, his commander cost is only ever just 1, which is kind of broken. Every other commander has a commander tax of 2. Go ahead. Okay,
but if you exile the top 3 cards of your deck, what if they aren't spells that you can play at instant speed or anything?
Well, you can do it just like on main phase. So like,
okay, so you can you pay 7 mana, 2 in Wooburg. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, you hit it. You nailed it. You should have just kept sailing. You nailed it like a pro.
Working on it. But yeah, so you pay the 7 mana and everything. You exile the top 3 cards. You play them without paying the mana cost for them. If you get sorceries, if you get these other
it could be a Haymaker creature, it could be a Haymaker enchantment,
if you throw a
anything.
creature down or something, it's exiled at the end of the turn. Yeah, you get to
No, it's not. No, it's not. So that first clause, the exile the top 3 cards of your library, that's just like setting up you able to cast them. That's like putting it in this little zone that's saying like, here, these are these 3 cards.
And
Once
so
you
if
cast them and they do their thing, it's like the fact that they had been exiled doesn't matter. They don't care about that.
So
you're
if
generating
you
massive value.
Gotcha. So if you
Yeah.
if you play these cards, they can stay on without.
Oh, it
so
sticks.
so
Yeah.
my interpretation of that would be, hey, you get to play these cards, but you get one shot at them, and then they're exiled permanently to your. I feel like that would be a much more fair way to have it play.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
yeah,
So maybe it's a question of wording then. Yeah.
Because I think that would be a reasonable thing to say, like, hey, if you're playing Golos, like, you better either have a really good setup and everything, or you better get some nice pulls from your like, hey, maybe
From that thing to make it worthwhile.
maybe you have some scry cards in your deck to go along with Golos and that.
Top, yeah.
And so you can say, hey, oh, boom, boom, boom. Oh, I know my top 3. I know that they're good. I know that I want them. Boom. Now I'll use Golos's ability and everything. Throw my 7 mana for this haymaker of blow. But like, once those cards have been used, boom, exiled. Not to the graveyard, exiled. Like, that is... I think that would be a much more reasonable interpretation that would not turn that into such a broken card in the Commander format.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there were definitely like wording things that they could have done with it that would make it like quote unquote more fair. But therein lies kind of an issue that I have with just like bannings in general now. Like, and I hate that I didn't see it before, but there's something that left a really bad taste in my mouth about like somebody I didn't vote for, or like I didn't have a say in, using conversations that I wasn't a part of with a sample size that didn't matter to me about like the and they just they make a decision and they can't like they can't change the wording of the card. They're not associated with the people who made the card, right? So it's like it's this really weird catch-22. But on top of it, it was the first time a ban like really like hit me. Like, I have a Golos deck. It's not.
I remember. I was just looking through my my history on everything to see if I still had the webpage like tracked in there.
Yeah. And so it felt bad specifically to me because I was like, well, hey, like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm not playing the deck with that type of spirit in mind where I'm just like min-maxing, trying to pub stomp. Like, I went the like landfall route. Like, I saw, oh, cool, he brings a land in, I'm gonna focus around bringing lands in. It wasn't just like, oh, just the best 5-color commander ever printed, and you just put the best cards and all the colors in and just like win the game that way.
Yeah, so because you are utilizing those cards in other decks that you like to have them in and everything. Like, you don't have an unlimited amount of these cards in each, like, to be able to put them in each deck and everything. Like,
yeah, and sometimes it's not like I truly don't believe it's fun to just play a deck full of haymakers and just like point your finger at your opponents.
Well,
I like to
you've
see
made that pretty clear because like you do, especially in the Commander 9 League and everything, like, you do play a number of different commanders. You try to mix in some decks that have different power levels and different tuning levels that you've done with them and everything, and I
flavor
think
and strategy and all that.
I think that's kind of shitty in that sense. Like, hey man, like, if you do, they have bans for decks in competitive?
Sure. Oh yeah, like Modern, Legacy, Standard, Vintage. They all have bans, but I'm pretty sure.
Fucking let people ban Golos individually for their formats.
There you go. And that's the next part of the conversation where I brought it to the play group and I was like, yo, they just banned Golos. I'm kind of not happy about it. Is there a world where we can leave it unbanned for us? Like, can is it, I'm basically asking, like, is my deck okay? And I was surprised to hear both from Ian, Jason, and Brett they were like, yeah, it's fine. Like we can go without that. And then that led to the greater conversation of, so how much do we care about their bannings in general? Like, are they right? Are we against the type of play experience that they're against? Like, are we against the same type of cards that they are? And I think we kind of found out, like, yeah, overall, but let's be a little more discerning moving forward. Where, yeah, I think we can just have these open discussions about cards that we may like or dislike, or, you know, a deck that's this or that. But I was
that.
yeah, me too. Like, I was really surprised that they were like, "Oh yeah, man! Like we've played against the deck. It's not oppressive. Like we get that what they're saying doesn't apply to us. Like it all just felt very like understanding, adult, mature, like whatever you want to say about it. It all just felt really good, and we came out of it, I think, all gaining a better understanding of like the play style that we want and the play style that we actually have, to where we kind of figured out, we were like, oh, like, yeah, we don't really care that much, and it's not like all of that doesn't necessarily apply to us. And I think that was kind of like freeing for all of us. So it was that was an interesting conversation, and I'm happy that we came out on the side of like, I still get to play my deck because, you know, I spent money on the thing and I want to play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just more than that we were like, no, this is our game, not theirs, that we're playing, right?
Yeah.
I think that was super powerful.
I do, and this is just like a side note, I do find it very impressive and also weird in a way that someone spent the time to come up with their own format for a game that was not sanctioned initially by WotC and everything. It was not a regular, and they just were like, fuck it, 100 cards, like, we're gonna have a commander that has to be a legendary creature, they're legendary whatever.
It started with dragons. Like, so, you know, you say EDH, that's Elder Dragon Highlander. So the idea was there was a bunch of like 3-colored dragons that were all 7 power. So like it informed a lot of the inception.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you're
just
hitting
kind
on that.
Yeah, it's interesting that they just like went out of their way and they're like, yeah, bored with this shit. Like, that's not how I think. I'm like, oh, there's a game, I'll play it. I don't go, oh,
well, it was in between the rounds of like the competitive game that they were playing, like for money and packs, and it was their way of like, oh, how can we just play like super casual, like fun Vorthosy Magic? Yeah. But now it's been turned to this like, people want to play it like competitively, and people want to this and that. And so that was part of my argument, is like, when will he just like give the format to the people? That was my post on Twitter when I was like, when's the next vote for the rule committee? Where like, I want to vote for these people. Like, I want Alan and Dylan and Cam and fucking Cyrus in the rules committee. I don't want fucking oh my god, whatever his name is. Oh man, they're just all a nightmare. They're all a nightmare. I don't want to play with any of them. This is turning into a rant, but like...
No, it's all good. Like, I'm looking at an article about it and everything, because I was trying to look up Sheldon, Menery, and everything, and found an article about Golos being banned. So I... Right before you said what the card was, I was like, oh, Justin has one of those.
So it nailed me.
Yeah,
so that's
but
like,
it's also...
That's why I'm more, like, fired up about it.
Yeah, but it's also, like, I mean, they're already, like, recommending other 5-color good potential options with Kenrith, and, like... Also, apparently, there was this article talks about other stuff like the unbanning of Worldfire, which
that's dumb. It doesn't matter.
I don't know what any of that means, but it's just it's interesting that this man just kind of
well, it's him and his cronies, bro. That's what I'm getting at. Like, it feels super nepotistic. It's like him and his buddies talking with their buddies, the people that they play Magic with, and then they're like, what do we like and what we don't like?
Just fucking keep that to your own play group.
Sure, but what I'm saying is they use that as like the sample size of the whole fucking world.
Well,
There's people in India that play Commander, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like they should keep that to their own play group, not like...
Yes, I say fuck your rules committee.
Yeah, like why are you like you... I don't know.
It's weird. It's not cool. It's like, I mean, and I've been trying to like compare it to something else where I'm like, oh, it's like this, but I really cannot think of a comparison, which means it's like an unprecedented, like weird position of power. And I'm like, I don't like that. That's dumb.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that if it is going to be, especially to the extent that
Dude, they're
Commander
gonna be.
has grown over
Yep.
the time and everything, like just from probably when you started to play it to where it's at now, is probably
Oh,
an
brother.
extreme
Yeah.
expansion because they are now creating. And when did they create their first Commander?
I think it
Like,
was 2016 or like 2018.
okay, so like it's pretty recently in comparison to
Oh yeah.
1994
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
they are now
It was all
making.
1v1 before that.
Yeah, and now
Mm-hmm.
also like from 2016, 2018 when Commander was like formed, like
Mm-hmm.
like when did WotC start putting out their own Commander
Oh,
fucking
okay.
like
So
packs and
the
like
format
box
price
sets and
started
everything?
in the format price started in like 2014, 2015, and then I
Okay.
think 2016 was the first product that they made that they were like, "Oh shit, people like this."
Gotcha. So like this is extremely recent in the
Yes.
history
Yes.
of Magic the Gathering and everything, and so I think that's a little hasty for them to be like, nah, fuck this shit. Like there's obviously going to be some cards that like are extremely broken just based on the format and everything, but this doesn't seem like it's one of them.
It feels like a card that they have to play against a lot that they don't like.
Yeah,
And
and I
I'm
don't like
worried
the
it
idea
doesn't
of
bode
that.
well. That's what I'm saying. It does not bode well. It's like dude, it's like fucking Vince Staples and ASAP Rocky and Slippery Slope
Dude,
in Dope. It feels like a slippery slope, brother.
ban in your play group.
Yeah.
If there's a deck that you don't want to play against, fucking ban it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't think
Yeah,
that's
I think that's the best way to go about it. But they want to have like a framework of rules for the people that are just able to go out in the wild and just rock up to a table of three other people they don't know and say like, hey, let's play Commander. Like that's the space that they're going for. But like unfortunately, I don't think that's the space that maybe a lot of people are playing in.
I don't
Maybe
think it is,
I don't think it
especially
is
over
either.
the past 2 years.
Yes, which makes me believe it's even more nepotistic than before
Because
because
they are
they are only.
isolated.
Yes, they're in the same discords, they're in the same fucking Twitches where they're all playing with the same people, and so you get four people in a room saying, "Oh, Smothering Tithe feels pretty bad." Well, guess what? Smothering Tithe is probably going to get banned in the next like month or two. So it all feels very like small sample sizey, whatever. I mean,
I don't think anything
whatever.
should. I think like that's
Leave
the
it up
thing.
to the people.
Leave it up to the people. Leave it up if you need to. Hey, fuck it. I feel like most Magic the Gathering people are one. I feel like you all have a very hidden garden kind of community in a sense because I don't feel like there's an extreme number of people like, hey, if you fucking are like, hey, what do you think about this NFL football rules change? There's gonna be all sorts of fucking bullshit, fake, not like people throwing in like answering a poll with some fake junky like funny answer or whatever, like fucking what should we
okay.
name this boat? Oh, Boaty McBoatface, like that kind of answer from people.
Right.
The Magic
Okay.
the Gathering community, from what I've experienced and what I've seen, seems to be much more one, you don't have a ton of interaction from outsiders because it is a just the nature of it and everything, with it being a card game, with the style of game it is and everything, like it's so inclusive to the people that play it, but
Right.
almost exclusive due to the age of the game, the huge like vastness of the different like technicalities and things of
There's
the
a lot of
playing
cards,
and everything. Like it's something that is not super. The barrier to entry is pretty high. It's also a financial barrier to entry.
Yep.
So like the people who are going to be interacting, responding to some sort of question.
Nailed it.
Hey,
Yep.
how do you think this would be? What do you think? You are going to get genuine answers. Yeah, you're going to get a fucking troll here and there, but like out of the vast majority of people who would be answering, hey, do you think Golos is broken? Do you think that this is a concern and everything? Like, poll the people, because I think that you would get like probably 90% of those answers that you're going to get are going to be genuine, are going to be valuable answers. And for the most part, you can typically kind of weed out trolls because they're like sending in like weird ass bullshit to just fuck with people. Like,
right. And if in that case the consensus was, yeah, Golos is shit, ban him, I would feel way more just like, yeah, okay.
But I have a feeling. I have a feeling with the group of people you play with, the experience that you all have playing and everything, the fact that you guys didn't even probably consider that might be a concerning card.
Dude, yeah, we didn't. That's the thing. We weren't even. It wasn't.
That probably was out of the blue. Yeah.
Exact. Dude, you are nailing it. Yeah, I literally woke up and read in the Discord people talking about it. I was like, wait, what the fuck? And then Sheldon Menery's fucking website wouldn't load, and I was like, man, this is a fucking joke. So yeah, man, you nailed it. We don't have to beat that horse anymore. But yeah,
I can imagine. Like, that's frustrating. I think for something like that, it's like, I don't know. I think that's kind of weird. You're kind of right. I can't think of a apt comparison necessarily.
Dude, I've been racking my brain. I could not think of one.
Well, because
every other competitive format, the governing body is the game that fucking made it.
Well, and
it's the same with every other format.
Well, not just in Magic the Gathering, but like in every other competitive game that you have any sort of ban system, it's just like, hey, you just fucking got to deal with it. And like, if you don't like fucking League of Legends Season 3, Season 2, Kassadin, like...
Yeah.
Ban it or lose. If you're blue side or if you're red side and you're picking second or whatever the fuck, like, ban it or lose. Like, and you just have to eat it when you're on that side. Like, that's just a fucking hazard of the game. Like, deal with it. Like, in your own play group, hey... If you don't like a deck that someone's got, just fucking ban it. Like, that you have bans in Commander.
Well, we do.
Is that not?
We do.
Is that not common?
That's a novel idea, bro. What we do with the picks and bans, that little system that we came up with, that's a novel idea. We're the only ones who do that.
Why?
That's not like Commander staple. Because we're the shit, bro. We have to figure it out.
I think that's a good system, but I mean,
dude,
either way,
it sounds good enough that you believe that everybody does that. Yeah, no, that's fucking me and Ian, brother.
Because I've played a number of games that have a pick and ban system, and it works well.
Yes.
And
dudes, that's what I'm saying.
And if you're
he's old and tired, yeah.
Well, and if you're playing competitive, like Commander and everything at the highest level, you can't tell me that those motherfuckers don't know who the other people at the table are and what decks they have. You can't fucking give me any little...
No, they know.
They fucking know who they're playing against on that table. They've done their research. They've looked up your past games. They know every card in your fucking deck. They've looked at your Mox field. They've looked at your whatever. And they know what card got shipped to you in the mail 2 days ago. Like, these people know.
They could, yeah.
These people know each other, and they know if you're considering the highest level of Commander and all. So, like, hey, if they have a strategy that you don't like, then yeah, ban system would be a fucking reasonable way to like even the playing fields a little bit.
Or just metagame better, bro. Play like that kind of removal. You know, put 2 more counter spells in your deck to deal with it. Like there's so many things that I'm on board with you with. Where like you as a player should have to think about your own play style and not just like wait for this like shadowy group of people to just like axe things for you.
Wild.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you, bro. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's interesting though that they like do that, and it's not something that's coming from like WotC. It's like something that's completely separated, even though it's become such. Like I said, to the extent
they have product that says Commander
WotC,
on it.
Yeah,
It was his idea.
they are creating products specifically for this format. Yet they are not the ones who are making the determinations and decisions about cards and things like that. That's weird. That seems just not quite right.
There's an element to the rules committee. I'm pretty sure it's called the CAG, which is the Commander Advisory Group. I'm pretty sure that's a team that like has communications with Wizards, so it's kind of like maybe there's some symbiosis there, but I have a hard time believing like any of it. But it's just like it's so interesting where like previously when they banned Hull Breacher, I was like, it seems reason like we didn't see it, I don't really know, blah blah blah. But now it's just like, man, I'm like totally against it, and my eyes are gonna be open moving forward.
That's what I was gonna say. What's gonna be the next thing that comes down the pipeline? What now that they banned this, is there gonna be something else that comes up that they're like?
I'm sure there will be.
Oh my goodness! Like this person's been stomping. Let that needs to go.
Yep. Yep. And that's what we were saying at the table when we were playing on Tuesday. It was just like, it's just cards that they lose to over and over, and they're just crybabies. That's like the meme that we got to. But it was.
I'll meme you. Fucking get good.
Get good, brother. Yeah, dude. Exactly, man. So yeah, that's been the news from Magic the Gathering this week. We had some good games, dumb ban, good conversation about it though. I think we came out on top.
I think that's cool that you guys discussed it and made that decision for your own play group, and I think that's
me too. It bodes well for the future.
Yeah, I like that. So
yeah, man.
Well, any other, I guess, Magic news or anything interesting that you're wanting to discuss or no?
No, I would just like to hit the flavor of the week here for this episode. Give me what you got, and then we can get on out of here.
Cool. Sounds good. So, flavor of the week for food. This is probably going to be, like, pretty disappointing, I think, for most people. But I have kind of started to go back to one of my favorite late night snacks, which is literally just tortilla chips, and then I throw some shredded cheese on top of it, hit that shit, nuke it in the microwave, and I've just got some like quick nachos. Like it's such a bad snack that's like not really that like over the top or anything like that, but it is like, I don't know, it's a lower calorie, quick, like not too bad for you snack, and compared to some of the other things I guess I could be eating for like a midnight snack, I will take it. But yeah, that's been, it's not necessarily that's like, this is the best food I've had this week. It's more of this is what I've kind of recently fallen into a little bit. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good snack, but some tortilla chips and cheese, I'm not complaining.
Well, I was hoping you were going to say salsa, and then you totally lost me with the cheese, and I was like, I can't follow you there, brother.
I do love a good salsa. I recently had bought this really nice tomatillo salsa, like the green salsa.
Okay. Yeah.
I also got some really good hot sauce recently that I've used in a bunch of different things, but now it's just tortilla chips.
Making sure people know you're not a pussy. You're like, oh, I got the hot stuff too. Don't worry.
Tortilla chips and fucking shredded cheese melted on top of it.
Yeah, that's funny.
I am so lazy that I don't even bake it in the oven. I'm just like, microwave that shit.
Right. So it just melts. It doesn't transform at all.
No, it literally like melts and just fucking sticks to the chip.
Yeah. Jesus, man.
Yeah. So,
Very low energy.
low energy, quick snack.
Nice. Okay.
Music for the week. I've started getting back into a little bit of some pop punk, punk rock, like emo-y type stuff, because I am next weekend, not this weekend. I think it's next weekend. Gotta double check myself. Yeah, next weekend I will be going to an emo night at a bar or music venue that they're gonna have like a DJ just playing a bunch of like throwback punk rock music and everything. It's we've gone before, me and my friends. It's like 10-15 buck tickets. You go, you listen to some old
Like a good Charlotte cover band.
No, just a DJ. It's like playing like Blink and like Good
Okay.
Charlotte and
Okay.
All Time Low and like all those kinds of bands, just like
Right.
jamming through like sing-alongs and everything. It's usually a pretty good time. So doing that, so I'm gotta kind of like get myself back into that after my Donda kick that I've been on lately.
Yeah, very
So,
different. Very different. Okay.
Yeah, so gotta work that back in a little bit. Be in that kind of vibe for this emo night and everything at the bar. So yeah.
A little bit of headbanging.
Don't worry, I've got my Vans, my black my black
Yes,
distressed
dude.
jeans, and my band T-shirts ready to go.
Let's go, dude. Let's go.
So that was my music, and then for my show, I have been just trying to get through the end of the show Arrow that's on the I don't even
CBS.
no C not cartoon
CW.
CW. That's the second letter that I couldn't come up with. Because I've watched this show for like years and years and years and fallen off and come back to it and everything, and I just want to get to the end of it. At this point, I'm trying to just get to the end of it, and every time I think I'm going to get to the end of it, they have one of those crossover episodes. Like they had one with the Flash at first, and then they had one with Supergirl, and now they have one with Batgirl or Batwoman or whatever the fuck they're calling her. And I'm just like, it's like, please end the show. It just keeps dragging on, but I've put so much time into watching it that I can't just quit.
Right.
So I'm trying to just like get to the end of that. That's been my primary thing that I've watched lately, because I'm just like, I've enjoyed the show for a while. Like it's been entertaining. It's not the most like enthralling show or phenomenal show or anything like that, but like I've enjoyed it. And so I just want to get to the end of it. I'm trying, and so I've been watching it a bunch recently. So that's
nice. How do you have any idea how much you have left?
I honestly don't. I think I'm like at the end of it. So
So like 25 episodes still.
So season 8.
Oh my god.
Was the most.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so season 8 was the most recent season, and the final episode of it was January of 2020. So
wow.
I think I am in the clear, and I believe that I am on the last season of the show.
Okay, so you'll see Arrow turn into Robin Hood.
Or whatever.
My bad. I spoiled it for you.
Shit.
Damn,
He's
dude.
gonna start robbing the rich and giving to the poor. I
does,
should have known
dude.
the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just.
Sucks.
I think that I'm at the end of it or towards the end, and I'm just ready to kind of get through and everything. So we'll see. But I'm crossing my fingers because, like I said, I've enjoyed the show, but it has just gone on so long. Like most of the seasons, I mean, it's 8 seasons. Most of them are like 20-ish episodes long and everything. They're all like 40-minute-ish episodes and all. It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a process, man.
So I like it, but I'm ready for it to be over so that it can be off my Netflix like watch history and I can just like move to whatever's next. So
Well, hopefully that chair comes quickly there, brother.
I don't think it's too far out. So
Nice.
And like I don't hate the show or anything. Like I'm not watching it out of spite. I just like it's about time that I can just be past it. So
Okay.
it's about that time. But
it's about that time.
For you, my friend, flavor of the week. Hit me with it.
Flavor of the week. We'll start where you left off. So I'm looking forward to, I think it's on Netflix or Hulu. So it's Why the Last Man. I think it just released on Netflix, which is a show based on a graphic novel. It was, if I remember correctly, it was the graphic novel that got me into the medium. I think that's what Ian loaned me for the first graphic novel that I would read.
It's the letter Y.
Yeah, the letter Y. So that's in reference to the XY chromosome, where all the males on the planet like get a disease and die, except this one dude, and then it's like, you know, about what happens to him.
So he's fucking.
Well, people want to fuck him more than he wants to fuck because he's got a lover, right? That's the motivation for the whole thing.
And they're like, you gotta fucking procreate, man. And he's like, nah, I got my bitch. Well, not his bitch, but he's got his lady.
Right. And so that's like a motivating factor, obviously. I think it seems like they introduced the Asian girl pretty quickly. And I don't want to like spoil things, but there are more volumes in the story, and I don't think they met the Asian girl that quickly. So I'm interested to see like how much got fucking chopped for them to get to like the juice of it.
Gotcha.
Now the payoff at the ending, I don't know. But I think I'm looking forward to watching it is basically what I'm saying.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet. Looking forward to seeing it. But yeah, that's okay. It's on Hulu. But yeah, that's Why the Last Man. It was a great read. I love the graphic novel. We'll just see if it holds up on screen.
And you read through the entire graphic novel, all 10.
Yeah.
I think it said. Books.
Yeah, they were 5 volumes that I would have read, so I guess each one was 2 of the issues, I guess you would call it. The terminology is so weird, but yeah, I read through the whole thing.
Nice.
And that's what got me into the medium, obviously. Like, I love it now. I'm still, like, reading a bunch of series. So obviously there was something to it.
I've liked the idea of doing that, but I don't read very much, so maybe it's...
Well, it's pictures.
I know.
It's not even reading.
The thing is, I have a list of some primarily Batman graphic novels that I would like to get into because I love Batman. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Then at least that's a good bridge into the medium.
Yeah. So I would like to branch out at some point if I can learn to read again. So
do you have The Killing Joke on there? Is that on the list?
So The Killing Joke, I've watched the cinematic that was created for it and everything.
I like that story.
What is the list that I have? Let's see.
Year One. A lot of people talk about that.
Yeah.
Year One's really good with fucking Gordon.
So Black Science is one that was recommended to me. Year One I have also heard of, and then there's like a few other just like graphic novels that I would like to check out.
Sure.
Apparently Saga, Rise of the Black Panther,
Saga's so good.
War of the Realms, Thor, Omega Man. Those are all ones that have been recommended to me. So,
Nice.
graphic novels, definitely something I would like to check out. But
Just haven't took the dive yet, huh?
yeah, I joke with Colleen all the time that I don't know how to read because I just don't read. so
Right.
so I'm just like, I just don't know how. And
That's a pretty good meme. Just be careful, man. You might, your face might get stuck like that, and then you'll wake up one day and not be able to read.
you never know. I
That'd be
mean,
tough.
for now, all I need to be able to look at is the tall and short of it at the top of the little thing I have around our pictures, and then I'm good. And at this point, I
There
have
you
that
go.
just it's just nailed in. So
It's memorized at this point.
yeah, the rest.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, I'm looking at pictures of pick and bans for League of Legends. I'm looking at pictures of cards from.
Oh, they're
Magic
so
the Gathering.
tiny. They're
I'm
so
like,
tiny, man.
Yeah, but I can tell who they are, so that's all I need. I don't.
Yeah, which is crazy, right? That's
Yeah.
a tiny ass pixel.
I feel
and
like-
we're like, oh, I know what that is.
I feel like that's a problem, but that's nonetheless.
That's what I'm getting at. It's a big problem.
So your show, why? Say it one more time.
Why the last man, as
Why?
in why the chromosome, like the letter Y.
Why the last man? So
Yes, sir. So the food I've been snacking on, Sarah goes to Shady Maple. It's like once a month, and she gets their thin sliced prosciutto. I stick that bitch on a toasted everything bagel. Put some spicy brown mustard on that, and that's what I'm been eating for lunch all the time.
I'm so jealous. I miss Shady Maple so much.
It's
been
so
too
good.
long. I need to go. Go.
It's a hot spot.
And for
It's a
anyone
very
who
hot
doesn't
spot.
know, Shady Maple is an Amish smorgasbord and market that you can buy fresh food at, but also go and have the best, most gluttonous meal of your life, all
Yeah.
cooked and served by the Amish.
Which is pretty good.
So they can make money to add turn signals to their horse and buggies.
And provide for their families, dude.
Sure.
So yeah, shout out Shady Maple. They're pretty good. Eating that prosciutto. I don't have specific music in mind, but it is very general. So Sarah has a different taste in TV shows that I do, and they're like dramedies and like medical dramas and whatever.
Gotcha.
But what I find so funny is the song choices for these shows are so similar, and you can call the kind of scene that's on screen based on the song, because you've heard it before, right? Where I don't know how many times I've heard how to save a life, or oh, Black Betty, down and out and out, oh, Black Betty, down and out. We're oh, so they're doing something badass, or
that's their badass music is Black Betty.
dude, it's so corny. Or you hear during the montage of the main character prepping for something, it's fucking Aerosmith's Dream On, Dream On. It's so cookie cutter. It's you hear the same shit over and over, and it's just so funny that none of these music producers have any originality. They're yeah, that's what I want.
You know that either one, there are two things. It's either one, the same music producer for all these medical drama shows.
Oh my god, that's what it is.
Or two, that these Midwest housewives have never gotten out of this.
Those are the only songs they know.
They don't know new music, that they're just oh, I heard that at a bar when I was 18 before I got pregnant with my first of 7 kids.
Yeah.
They're
they're locked in. They fantasize about it.
Because those shows seem to enthrall the general the main what is that called, demographic to watch those shows, that I feel like it is for those, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, things like that. It's Midwestern housewife who's that's her life, that's what she's talking about all week. They're these women thrive on it because they're I live in the fucking middle of Ohio where there's nothing to do and everything's flat around me and there's only farms. Gotta have a TV show to talk about. So
living vicariously through Dr. Gray, man.
Gotta make sure that they're leaving them with some hitting home with some of those tunes that they know and love.
Dude, and it's the same tunes that they know and love, which is just hilarious. Like, I could just hear it, and I know it's a different show, but I know what's happening on screen based on the fact that Black Betty is playing.
That's a riot. I love it.
Dude. But yeah, so
that makes
it
even more entertaining. That's so more entertaining, just like based on the fact that you can.
Dude, and that's not like the How to Save a Life and the other one. Those were random, but I'm telling you, Black Betty is like they are making dollars off the rights to that song. Let's just say that. Like, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Everybody is like, this is what our badass scene is gonna play to.
There you go.
And the DP is like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
oh, man, whatever. So yeah, that's my flavor of the week, dude. Action-packed episode this week.
Full episode, ladies and gentlemen. 52 episodes. Episode number 52.
1 year.
1 year of episodes for you all. Go back and check the old ones. Check out the bonus episodes. Race
See companions. How bad we were.
Honestly, we were probably garbage at the beginning. I almost don't want to look back.
I never want anybody to hear episode 1 and 2 and 3 and 51. Just listen to this one.
Yeah, listen to this one and going forward. But of course, you can find all of those episodes where you find podcasts, Anchor, Google, Spotify. Check them out. We're on Twitter at Tall and Short of 1, the number 1. You all should know it by now. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. Justin, take us on out of here.
If you like what you heard today, hit the subscribe, hit the like, let us know what you liked, let us know who you like, who you're looking forward to for the Sochi Grand Prix. I just want to say thank you very much for spending your time with us here this evening. This has been another Tall and Short of an episode. Peace out.
Bam-balam.